87%. Chapter 441 Leap into the Waves. The terrifying lethality of the boss. Seeing that these God-chosen members of the Eurasian Federation are so ignorant and obsessed with obsession, Qin Tian didn't bother to take care of them anymore. He focused all his attention on the Dark Killer Whale King in the distance. Perhaps it was the successive attacks that angered the behemoth. I saw Dark Killer Whale King dragging its huge and heavy body directly into the air. The skill, jump and hit the waves. Although the height of the jump is not very high, but combined with its giant size and weight, that would be really scary. In everyone's horrified eyes, Dark Killer Whale King landed directly on the outskirts of a densely packed battleship group of all kinds. Those crispy warships such as gunboats and frigates were crushed to scum on the spot, and they couldn't die anymore. Those with slightly thicker blood-like destroyers and 600 cruisers were not crushed in the first place. He was sent to a distant place along the monstrous waves, and escaped by luck. And you thought it was over? The answer is obviously impossible. Leap to hit the waves. Hitting the waves is the focus of this skill. With the Dark Killer Whale King falling, the monstrous huge waves all around hit all the warships with a radius of hundreds of meters around that sea area with a crash. Thousands of warships hit by huge waves suddenly had a large scarlet damage floating above their heads. Then under the stunned and horrified gazes of all the chosen ones. Among the tens of thousands of warships, on the spot, more than half of the warships were blasted into a pile of debris by the huge waves. Let alone the god chosen above and the crew are alive. It was directly crushed into a meat paste by the strong water pressure. Soon the sea area turned into a sea of blood. Such a terrifying scene frightened countless gods chosen present until their legs went limp. Spike. It was an instant kill. This damage is too freaking abnormal to know. As Qin Tian continued to break the records of the gods chosen, he improved crazily. The rules of World of Warships are also finely adjusted under the influence of Qin Tian's strength. In today's World of Warships, there are not only barrels of supplies on the sea. Those ordinary green treasure chests and advanced blue treasure chests can also be encountered from time to time. Although most of the items issued are materials. But there are also quite a few god chosen who offered reinforcements for the hull parts. Therefore, the destroyers of many ordinary gods chosen can reach tens of thousands of HP. There are also quite a few cruisers with 20,000 to 30,000 HP. It is almost normal for those elite gods chosen cruisers and battleships with better talents and good luck to have 50,000 to 60,000 HP. As for Nangongla and Leng Lai, who are highly talented, strong, and lucky, they are the top candidates. Even if you don't get the enhanced suit on the god-level treasure island. The blood volume of the current battleships is generally in the range of 80,000 to 90,000. But it's such a high blood volume. Among the thousands of warships, there were still a large number of destroyers and cruisers that were blown up by a wave. This terrifying amount of damage can be said to be completely inconsistent with the super thick blood volume of Dark Killer Whale King. It stands to reason, in order to maintain the balance of World of Warships, a boss with such a high blood volume would not have such terrifying lethality. It's just that time has not allowed them to think too much. Because after releasing this skill, Dark Killer Whale King, with a flick of its tail, it began to wreak havoc again in the sea of God's chosen ship. Some gods chosen who didn't die under the skill just now. Under the attack of being slapped by the opponent's tail, hit by the head, or sprayed out by the jet of water. Unwillingly, he was buried in the sea as the battleship shattered. Because the opponent's size is too large, many of them didn't even have time to get out of the opponent's attack range. It was sunk directly. You guys better step back. This boss is a bit evil, the attack is too high. Qin Tian sent a message to Vanessa, Nangongla, and Zhang Zongjun to persuade them. His battleship has hundreds of thousands of HP, coupled with Su Jian's quick blood recovery. Even if it's against that Dark Killer Whale King, it's not cowardly. But Zhang Zongjun and the others may not have this ability. The most important thing is that the size of this ocean boss is really too big this time. Once you leap over here, at that time, even if Zhang Zongjun and the others wanted to run, they might not be able to run. And even if he wanted to save him, he was powerless. So the best way is to prevent problems before they happen. Let them leave the home court and retreat to the edge of the battlefield. And received a message from Qin Tian. Nangongla and the others didn't hesitate at all. Turned around in a roundabout way, and sailed towards the back. Anyway, their warships are either aircraft carriers or battleships and battle cruisers. All have the ability to fire and attack at a distance of 40 kilometers. It doesn't matter if it's far away. As soon as Nangongla and the others left. It doesn't matter on Qin Tian's side. Let go completely. All kinds of weapons are crazily tilting ammunition like they don't want money. That terrifying firepower made the chosen ones of the Eurasian Federation feel envious and heart-pounding. They don't understand. The same as God's chosen one. Why is the combat effectiveness of the Qin Tian battleship so powerful? And it takes a lot of effort for them to fight an ordinary sea beast. As for seeking revenge, they were not in the least afraid. World of Warships is so big, the chances of encountering each other are almost zero. What they were afraid of was whether Qin Tian's crazy attack would attract the attention of that terrifying ocean boss. Then cause the opponent's next skill attack to jump directly to their area. Just when they are in a dilemma. When hesitating whether to stay away from Qin Tian. The Dark Killer Whale King actually rushed towards the opposite direction. 0.1. Pulled away the distance from this area. This moment immediately made these God's chosen people heave a sigh of relief. Then an Angsan followed Qin Tian and attacked with all her arms and legs. It seems that the Dark Killer Whale King's hatred is to find other gods chosen nearby to attack. Those who are far away like them. No matter how ruthless the attack is, it should not be listed as the first attack target. In this way, the god chosen of these Eurasian federations are completely relieved. One by one closely followed Qin Tian's side and waited for the opportunity. And Qin Tian also saw the careful thinking of these Eurasian Federation god chosen around him. So in the early and mid-term, it did not behave too aggressively. Using the tactics of the enemy advancing and retreating, the enemy retreating and advancing has been attacking Dark Killer Whale King without injury. 88%. Chapter 442. The calculation is successful and all are destroyed. And Qin Tian's flexible positioning. It gave a false impression to the chosen ones of the Eurasian Federation who surrounded him. That is, it is very safe to follow Qin Tian's side. Because of every movement and movement of Qin Tian. They will all reasonably avoid Dark Killer Whale King's next attack area. Even in order not to affect his position. Those Eurasian Federation god chosen also consciously vacated an open space with a radius of nearly 100 meters around Qin Tian's battleship. Where does his nemesis go? The chosen ones of the Eurasian Federation will turn in any direction around him. Such a strange scene naturally attracted many other gods chosen to join. Even some chosen ones from the Yanlong Empire thought it was safe to join in. And for these, Qin Tian didn't remind anything. In World of Warships, every decision is related to the safety of the chosen one himself. Now that you have made a decision, be prepared to bear the consequences. That's all. Fierce fighting continued. When Dark Killer Whale King's health was hit by 21 and fell below 40 million. Only to hear the other party suddenly let out a high-pitched whine. Then, a spray of water sprayed out from the fumarole above the head. For a while, it was like pouring rain within an unknown radius of several kilometers. And all warships within this range. Anything that touches these drops of water. It's like being poisoned. They began to lose blood continuously. And Qin Tian happened to be within the scope of this area. Even the hundreds of gods chosen around him did not escape. Sit in the bridge chair in the control room. Qin Tian opened the attribute panel of his battleship. Observe the damage of these water droplets. I saw his battleship blood volume of more than 800,000. At this moment, it is falling at a rate of more than 700 or more than 800 per second. This made Qin Tian secretly startled. This is the amount of damage per second. And the water spraying state of Dark Killer Whale King is still going on. God knows how long it will last. This is if you spray for a minute or two. Calculated according to the damage of 700 or 800 per second. It can be said that at least more than 40,000 damage must be caused. It would be fine if a God's chosen person like Nangongla who has awakened the talent of returning blood, or a crew member like him who has searched and rescued above the S-level talent and has the characteristic of returning. With the skill of returning blood, some of this damage can be offset to some extent. But those gods chosen who don't have the ability to recover blood and don't have much supplies in their hands will suffer. He could only watch the blood volume of his battleship drop, squeaky, and feel helpless. And Qin Tian glanced roughly. Only the area he can see. There must be 5,000 or 6,000 warships sprayed by the Dark Killer Whale King. If this is added to his area, I'm afraid there must be tens of thousands of warships being destroyed by this skill. Fortunately, the maintenance time of this skill is not so long. It was over after about 10 or 20 seconds of spraying. But Rao is like this. It also caused countless battleships to lose tens of thousands of blood points. Many gods chosen who don't have the ability to restore blood are thinking about their own lives. I can only endure the pain in my flesh. Gritting his teeth and consuming supplies, he began to repair the battleship. But do you think this is over? No. After blowing out a wave of cloud seeding that can be described as highly toxic with fumaroles, Dark Killer Whale King used the skill of leaping to the waves again. And even jumped twice. Jumped to Qin Tian's front right position. For a time, there were countless pieces of wreckage. The sea surface of those two areas that had been ravaged was directly soaked in bright red blood. Even Qin Tian, who was hundreds of meters away, was affected. Although it was not directly hit by the huge waves on the ship. But some of the splashed waves still caused their battleship's blood volume to plummet. Originally, the poisonous water sprayed out by Dark Killer Whale King consumed tens of thousands of blood. Now there is such a wave again. Some battleships with relatively low blood volume were simply emptied of their health bars by those waves. The entire battleship was shattered to pieces. The Chosen One and the crew fell into the sea and struggled desperately. But at this juncture, no one dares to distract them to save them. On the contrary, it is accompanied by the continuous movement of the battleship group. Soon, those who fell into the sea disappeared without a trace. This made the other god chosen who surrounded Qin Tian and witnessed this scene couldn't help swallowing hard. It's so frightening. Just such a few small waves can actually crush more than a dozen warships. It's like a fairy tale. If you don't see it with your own eyes, they will never believe it. It's just that they haven't waited for them to come back to their senses. Next moment, a scene that made them even more desperate appeared. I saw the Dark Killer Whale King that fell a few hundred meters in front of them to the right. I don't know why. Suddenly it was like going crazy. With a flick of its tail, it rushed towards them in this direction. Then on the way, the huge body jumped forward. A skill of leaping and hitting the waves pressed towards them like Mount Tai pressing down on the top. Walter the FK, what's going on? Damn it. Why is the boss of this world rushing over suddenly? Damn it. Someone come save me. Get out of the way. Run. Damn you. Don't come here. This moment, the gods chosen surrounded Qin Tian as if they had eaten dead rats. His face was pale and ugly, and his eyes were full of desperate cries. But to no avail. Can't change anything at all. Accompanied by a loud bang, the huge body of the Dark Killer Whale King slammed down like a meteorite. For a while, the soaring waves scattered in all directions. Scarlet blood began to smear the area. Fortunately, Qin Tian had the foresight. Let the phoenix retreat a little farther back in advance. Otherwise this time, even if the phoenix doesn't sink, the blood volume of more than 75,000 would have to be reduced by more than half. At that time, I will be slapped a few tails by this terrifying Dark Killer Whale King. If you don't die, you have to die. Under the sweeping waves of the sky, Qin Tian's goddess of Nemesis carried the dazzling title, and was swept away by the huge waves for several hundred meters safely. As for the hundreds of battleships that surrounded him earlier, trying to conspire against him to rob him of the fruits of victory, this time, none escaped. 88%. Chapter 443 Kill. 50,000 units of king meat. This scene made the scalps of other gods chosen people who were envious of those gods chosen people feel numb for a while. There was a chill in my heart. They didn't know if this was Qin Tian's scheme, or if those people just memorized it. But judging from the fact that Qin Tian had clearly harbored ill intentions towards those who surrounded him, yet he did not show the slightest bit of anger or scolding. Obviously Qin Tian is more likely to plot against those people. This makes all the people who want to understand the inside and outside of the door can't help but stand on end. It is worthy of being the number one god chosen who kills without blinking an eye. As expected, his style of acting is still the same, ruthless and ruthless. Unrelated people want to take advantage of him. That is simply harder than climbing to the sky. Even at any time, you have to be mentally prepared to be killed or killed directly. This frankly left them speechless, regardless of what they think in their hearts. On Qin Tian's side, he has already started a fierce battle with Dark Killer Whale King. Naval guns, missiles, rockets. Even 20 mythical level Y1130 close-in defense guns launched a continuous and crazy attack on the Dark Killer Whale King. Chug chug. Tiansheng Rui and Yun Yan also led their drone fighter teams to circle around non-stop, attacking the Dark Killer Whale King below with full firepower. Fight harder. The other God-chosen people around were even more surprised. In the end, it has completely turned into unbelievable horror. Because they found that the blood recovery ability of the Qin battleship is simply against the sky. It was obviously crackling by the Dark Killer Whale King, and knocked out tens of thousands of blood. But 10 seconds later, with a flash of green light returning blood, the blood bar above the battleship's head returned to the full state again. Wait until Dark Killer Whale King let out a desperate cry. After frantically launching a desperate attack on Qin, people just woke up like a dream. This terrifying ocean boss is about to be wiped out. Qin held back the hatred of the world boss without any pressure by himself. No matter how the Dark Killer Whale King attacks, they still couldn't let the blood volume of the Qin battleship drop below half. And Qin withstood the attack of the world boss. After leaving a comfortable output environment for everyone. It's not 5 minutes. They killed Dark Killer Whale King, leaving less than 1 million blood. 80 million blood left less than 1 million. This can almost declare the death sentence of the world boss. But even so, no one around dared to move forward with the idea of snatching it. Because the appearance of the world boss at this moment is too terrifying. Obviously, he was in the final state of crazy runaway. It can be seen that the area where Qin is located is rippling and the waves are surging. It is estimated that these warships would lose tens of thousands of blood by those waves before they approached. Losing his life in order to snatch a boss collection with too many uncertain factors. Anyone with a little brain has to think about it. It is estimated that only Qin can have such a great ability. Fighting frantically with such a terrifying world boss at a distance of less than 200 meters. In the end, there was no suspense. Dark Killer Whale King was rubbed off the last trace of blood under the non-stop terrorist attack of 20 mythical level Y1130 close and anti-aircraft guns. Then there was a desperate cry, and then there was no sound at all. I found the body of Ocean Boss Vignia. Do you want to collect it? Because Qin killed the Dark Killer Whale King right under the nose. So his opponent just died on his front foot. On the back foot, he received the beep of the will of the planet. Of course Qin would not be polite about this. Without hesitation, he nodded and chose collection. Such a perverted world boss with blood volume and attack. He is looking forward to how many good things the other party can bring him. And soon, the reminder of the will of the planet rang in his ears. Congratulations to the captain for obtaining 50,000 units of Leader Killer Whale King meat. Congratulations to the captain for obtaining 4,000 top quality sea beast teeth. 50,000 units of king meat. 4,000 top grade sea beast teeth. This harvest can be said to be quite wow. Hearing these two numbers, Qin's eyes sparkled. And at this moment, with the flash of his eyes, he saw the other 9 warships of Qin Shui's fleet not far away. Obviously, he has returned to the waters of World of Warships. Then follow. The reminders of the will of the planet rang one after another. This event to challenge Ocean Boss Vignia has ended. Congratulations to Qin, the chosen one of the Yanlong Empire, for giving the final blow to the boss, and a special reward for killing the treasure chest. Congratulations to every chosen one who survived. You will receive a corresponding level of challenge gift pack. The top 3 God chosen who have caused the most damage to Ocean Boss Vignia this time will receive generous rewards. Please pay attention to check. After the voice of the will of the planet fell, the virtual panel appeared in front of the eyes of all the chosen ones in World of Warships. The above is the ranking of the event. No doubt. The first place in the middle is still Qin. The damage to the boss is as high as 47.66 million. This made everyone who saw this number open their mouths. Fell into deep doubt. The second place this time is still Cecily Adams, of Jiao Wang. It also dealt more than 9 million damage to Dark Killer Whale King. Then the third place is not Reese Duke. It was Nangongla of the Yanlong Empire. The damage to the boss is 6.88 million. It's close to 7 million. But I thought of Chu Feifei, the princess of the Chengxing Empire who was searched and rescued by that girl. Qin was relieved again. As for the fourth place, it is naturally Reese Duke. The damage to the world boss is more than 5 million. In this way, the damage ranking of the world boss. The chosen ones of the Yanlong Empire actually occupied the last 2 seats. This all shows that the Yanlong Empire is rising rapidly. After Qin asked Chu Hongbao to control the warship and stand by, he himself left the control room and came to the deck. At this moment, Rui and Union are controlling the fighter plane to land on the deck. 88%. Chapter 444 Genesis Level, Quasi-5th Generation Mecha. After seeing Rui and Yun Yan successfully landed on the deck, Qin Tian greeted him with a smile. Ha ha ha, good job, hard work. Saw them jumping off their respective fighter jets. Qin Tian nodded to them and said, Captain, it's not hard work, but the fighter jet is really not as good as the mecha. Whenever you have time, please make our mechatronics first. However, in the face of Qin Tian's condolences, Yun Yan opened her mouth and kept her mouth shut. It wasn't there before, and it didn't help her to worry about it. There are now drawings. Of course she never forgets. Qin Tian couldn't laugh or cry for a while. Okay, I'll take a look now to see what materials are needed to make this mech. Being urged by Yun Yan, there was no other way. Qin Tian could only use divine detective technique to look at the blueprint of the mecha in his hand. Item: Epic 4th Generation Mech Blueprint. Quality: Purple. Production requirements: Ordinary crystal ore 3000, ordinary metal sheet 30,000, ordinary nail 40,000, ordinary plastic 70,000, elite sea beast tooth 3001. Efficacy: It can be used to make 4th generation humanoid mechs of purple epic quality. Ordinary advancement: Ordinary crystal ore 5,000, ordinary metal sheet 90,000, ordinary nail 70,000, ordinary plastic 120,000, elite 273 sea beast teeth 600, can be advanced into orange legendary 4th generation mecha. High quality goods advanced: Ordinary crystal ore 10,000, ordinary metal sheet 130,000, ordinary nails 100,000, ordinary plastic 180,000, elite sea beast teeth 1,000, can be advanced into a red mythical 4th generation machine worker. Advanced advancement: 8,000 high quality crystal ore, 80,000 high quality metal sheet, 60,000 high quality nail, 130,000 high quality plastic, 400 top quality sea animal teeth, can be advanced into a colorful 4th generation mecha. Hiss. Qin Tian felt dizzy when he saw that the manufacture of mechs needed both top-quality crystal ore and top-quality sea beast teeth. Only these 5 mechas were manufactured. He had to spend 40,000 high-quality crystals and 2,000 top-quality sea beast teeth. How about getting 3 to try? Qin Tian just thought so in his heart. Out of the corner of his eye, he accidentally saw Li Yao not far away. Have to. At that time, Rui, Union and Weiyu will all have their mechs opened. How could this one be happy? 100% will pester myself. So at least 4 mechas have to be produced, CBDI. Think here. Qin Tian looked at Yun Yan in front of him and said, Our luck is not bad, we met the world boss Dark Killer Whale King, otherwise we wouldn't even be able to build a mecha without the material of top quality sea beast teeth. Quote. Huh, what do you mean, Captain, that now we have all the supplies and can manufacture them? Yun Yan, who caught Qin Tian's subtext, suddenly asked with bright eyes. Yes, it can be made. Qin Tian nodded with a smile and said. There is no impatience, and there is no aggressiveness against the other party's enthusiasm. No matter how the other party pesters people. But the essence of the core idea is to replace it with a more advanced weapon to help him kill the enemy better. Get more interest cakes for him. As for what kind of power is high, the main thing is that the tail is too big to lose. It doesn't exist for him. Because the other party's loyalty has already reached the level of die-hard loyalty. Totally impossible to betray. So Qin Tian didn't procrastinate. Immediately, 4 of the 5 mecha blueprints were drawn. Select Advanced to start consuming materials for manufacturing. Manufacturing the 4th generation Genesis level mecha requires 8,000 high-quality crystal ores, 50,000 high-quality metal sheets, 70,000 high-quality nails, 90,000 high-quality plastics, and 400 top-quality sea animal teeth. Do you want to manufacture it? Manufacture. Qin Tian recited silently in his heart. With the blueprint in hand disappears. Soon, a huge mech with a height of more than 10 meters and shining with metal light appeared in front of everyone's eyes. It was also the first time Qin Tian saw this big guy in reality. He couldn't help raising his head to look carefully. I saw that the entire mecha was pitch black, standing in front of him like a giant standing upright. In his left hand is a shield, in his right hand he holds a rifle, and on his shoulders are 4 small caliber barrels. Because it is an epic-making weapon of war, Qin Tian didn't know whether the 4 barrels were artillery or laser cannons. Behind it are a pair of wings that provide flight. Qin Tian guessed that the pair of wings should be energy packs. I just don't know if it is electricity or what kind of energy. Wow, it's not bad. Looking at the appearance, it seems to be a limited edition of the 4th-generation aircraft. It is more suitable for you, leader. At this time, Yun Yan suddenly exclaimed beside her. Then he said to Rui. Qin Tian turned his head to look upon hearing this. Sure enough, I saw a trace of excitement on Rui's face. Rui, who had a poker face for 10,000 years, could show such an expression. It can be seen that this mech is still very good. Seeing some doubts and incomprehension on Qin Tian's face, Yun Yan immediately told him scientifically, Captain, I really didn't expect you to be able to manufacture a limited edition model. Although the technology of our Chengxing Empire has barely reached the 7th level and reached the threshold of advanced civilization, it is not an easy task to update the mechs. The update of each generation requires a lot of scientific research and money. The limited edition machine was produced in the first few years, 10 years, or even decades before the update, using the top materials and the most mature technology at that time, coupled with some newly developed scientific research results, to create the combat machine at that time. The most powerful armor. Just like this armor, although it is a 4th-generation aircraft, it is equipped with an energy shield that is only available on 5th-generation aircraft, which can effectively defend against attacks such as lasers, particle beams, and plasma cannons with relatively strong lethality. Greatly improved safety performance. As for thermal weapon attacks such as machine guns and missiles, as long as the driver's skills are excellent, he can avoid most of the deadly attacks, and with the protection of super alloy shields, there is no problem in holding on to the next large-scale battle. Therefore, this type of mecha can already be regarded as a quasi-5th-generation machine. Quote. Hear Yun Yan's words. Qin Tian suddenly realized and nodded. Then they consumed blueprints and materials to manufacture 3 mechs. As expected, the other 3 mechas are also limited edition quasi-5th-generation mechas. Obviously, Genesis level just represents this level. 88%. Chapter 445 The terrifying attribute of mechs, fully automatic coastal anti-aircraft guns. But even though the mechas Union mentioned are quasi-5th-generation mechas, but judging from past experience, the things he advanced using divine detective technique should generally be stronger than normal ones of the same level. Think here, Qin Tian thought. Then she used the divine detective technique factory on the purple mecha that Yun Yan had taken a fancy to. Item. Genesis class battle mech quasi-5th generation. Quality. Colorful. Main scale. M 16.2. Health volume. 128,000. X. 43,810. Defense. 12,000. Characteristics. The Chengxing Empire quasi-5th generation top-level mech has a powerful ability to fight in outer space. Every time an enemy is killed, it can restore -10% of its own blood volume. Maximum speed. 1.8 Mach. Engine. Nuclear power reactor. Defense system. Energy shield 120,000. Weapon system. Head 27mm cannon neutron beam cannon purple X1, shoulder 20mm laser cannon purple X4, Star C-30 beam rifle purple X1, superalloy shield purple X1, beam saber purple ×1. When you see the attack power and defense power of this mech, and after the weapons equipped, Qin Tian's eyes went straight. At this moment, he finally understood why people like Yun Yan and Rui couldn't forget the mecha. This is too powerful. 120,000 blood, more than 40,000 attacks. The weapon is either a beam cannon or a laser cannon, and there is a shield next to it. The most important thing is that it also has the characteristic of returning blood. The battle is flexible, it can carry and fight, and it also has a strong battery life. No wonder it will become the main individual combat weapon of the Chengxing Empire. Captain, can the captain and I go out for a stroll in the mecha to warm up? At this time, Yun Yan pointed to the mech she had chosen and asked Qin Tian impatiently. Looking at the uncontrollable excitement on the other person's face, Qin Tian nodded amusedly, and said, yes, let's go. Coincidentally, he also wanted to see the flexibility and flying speed of this mecha in the air. Hey, thank you, Captain, you are so kind, Captain. Yun Yan said happily. Immediately, he dragged Rui to the mechas they had chosen and walked away quickly. I saw that the two of them took the elevator that came with the mecha and entered the cockpit of the mecha's chest cavity. After a wait of 2 or 3 minutes, the eyes and several parts of the bodies of the 2 mechas were all lit up. Then, accompanied by the wing-shaped thrusters on the back, blue light particles are continuously ejected. The 2 mechas quickly flew into the sky, dragging 4 blue tail flames. It is different from the limited and rigid takeoff and landing methods of normal fighter jets. The attack direction of the mecha is obviously more flexible, relying on the propeller emitting light particles on the back. The pilot of the mech is completely free to decide the direction he wants to attack. Everyone watched the two mechas fly into the sky. Rui's black mech is better, just hovering in the sky quietly in the package of light particles. It seems to be nostalgic for life. And the purple mecha that Yun Yan picked was much more active. First, he opened his arms in the sky and flew over the head of the nemesis. Then after a while, it was close to the sea again, roaring past the side of the battleship in a side-lying position. Even if it's just for fun. But Qin Tian saw great potential from these operations. Develop mechs. In the future, he must get 50 or 60 mechas to escort his battleship. It's the double crown in Gears of War. Both mobility and practicality are incredible. I don't know how many times stronger than fighter jets. And this is only a quasi-fifth generation machine. In the future, in the universe, if he gets another 6, 7, or even an 8th generation mecha, how strong will his air domination ability be? Ordinary space battleships probably haven't waited for the battleships approaching him. It will be wiped out by the mecha army driven by Rui and the others. Thinking about it, Qin Tian couldn't help feeling hot in his heart. And in the live broadcast room, all the people who watched this scene all showed expressions of surprise and longing. Ask for flowers. Is this a mecha? It's amazing. At this moment, I finally understand why Goddess Yun Yan has always been obsessed with mechas. I understand too. Oh my god, this is something I dreamed of. Sports cars and helicopters are all rubbish. I drive this thing to pick up girls. Just thinking about it makes my blood boil. Hey, Xing upstairs, are you sure you're driving the mecha to pick up girls, not to tear down other people's hotels? My god, isn't this cheating? With this kind of weapon, now those fighter jets will become scrap iron in front of Mrs. Chin. I feel that 10,000 fighter jets may not be able to beat this receiver. Oh, it shouldn't be so. Although we can't see the blood volume of this kind of mecha, I estimate that there is a high probability of 60,000 to 70,000 blood. As long as we have enough fighter jets, we will have to wait until the day of the war. Focusing fire can make these two mechas dead without a place to bury them. There was a heated discussion in the live broadcast room. And Qin Tian silently looked away after watching Yun Yan's mech show for a while. Stepped to the deck on the other side. He first went to kill the treasure chest. With a calm heart, he lifted the lid of the black gold treasure chest. He has seen a lot of things in the world, let alone this killing treasure chest. Even if the world-class colorful treasure chest is in front of him now, it can only make him a little excited for a while. After opening the treasure chest, the reminders of the will of the planet rang out one after another. Congratulations to the captain for obtaining the blueprint of the epic fully automatic coastal anti-aircraft gun ×10. Congratulations to the captain for obtaining the blueprint of the epic unmanned fighter jet ×10. Congratulations to the captain for obtaining 10,000 units of fine wood. Congratulations to the captain for obtaining 10,000 units of fine flax. Congratulations to the captain for obtaining 10,000 units of fine metal sheets. Congratulations to the captain for obtaining 10,000 units of excellent plastics. Congratulations to the captain for obtaining 5,000 barrels of crude oil. Looking at the crude oil barrels that took up most of the deck here again in an instant. Qin Tian didn't care about them. Instead, they focused on the epic-level fully automatic coastal anti-aircraft gun blueprint for a long time. 88%. Chapter 446. Creation-level pirate treasure map quest. Looking at the 10 drawings in his hand, Qin Tian couldn't help laughing. These 10 fully automatic coastal anti-aircraft guns came at a good time. He still had some headaches. Once he starts to develop the god-level treasure island, that is equivalent to having a weakness in a fixed location. Usually he's fine when he's at home. There are Rui and Union's mechs and those drones and fighter jets guarding them. It will definitely make the invading enemy come and go. But if he has something to do not be on the island, then the air defense force of his god-level treasure island will be extremely weak. At that time, it is inevitable that his island will be carpet-bombed by the enemies of the Eurasian Federation with fighter jets and drones. And with these 10 epic-level fully automatic coastal anti-aircraft gun blueprints, he then advanced all of them to the creation level 240. In this way, the air defense capability of his god-level treasure island will be greatly improved. At least it can cause heavy losses to those incoming enemies. Xiao Yao, think here. Qin Tian put away the blueprint in his hand and put it in his pocket, while yelling at Li Yao on the deck over there. Ah, what's the matter, Captain? Hear Qin Tian's call. Li Yao, who was fascinated by the mecha in the sky, hurriedly responded and asked, let Zhengyi and Yan Bin bring some people to move the 5,000 barrels of crude oil down there. Qin Tian pointed to the crude oil behind him and said, okay, Captain. Li Yao made an okay gesture. Then she talked to Zhengyi and Yan Bin behind her. Yan Bin nodded, turned around and went down the cabin from the side door of the island. Not long after, they brought a large group of crew members to Qin Tian's deck. Li Yao followed behind and strolled to Qin Tian's side. Then he pretended to be careless and asked, Captain, this mecha is too handsome. I see that you have made 4 mechas. Who are those 2 mechas for? Qin Tian couldn't help being a little funny looking at her appearance. I thought this girl really couldn't sit still. He looked at the other side and said, one of them is planned for Weiyu, and the other one hasn't been decided yet. Hear Qin Tian's words. Li Yao's flawless face immediately showed a gleam of joy. She looked at Qin Tian eagerly looking at her nose and said, Captain, what do you think of me? I have also learned to fly a fighter jet, and now I am very proficient in the operation of fighter jets. I feel that I have no problem operating this mech at all. Qin Tian nodded amusedly when he heard the other party's words, and said, okay, I'll give you a chance. When the time comes, you and Weiyu will ask Rui and Union for advice, and I'll see who can do it faster skillfully control this mech. Yes, Captain, I promise I won't let you down. See, Qin Tian agreed. Li Yao immediately saluted happily and said loudly. Waited for 10 minutes. After seeing that the crude oil barrels on the deck were almost moved, Qin Tian then came to the creation-level treasure chest again. Grab the cover and flip it off. Congratulations to the captain for obtaining the transfer scroll of the island monument ×1. Congratulations to the captain for obtaining the Genesis class unmanned fighter ×20. Congratulations to the captain for obtaining the creation class pirate treasure map ×1. Following the grand sound of the planet's will, it fell. Qin Tian saw that there were suddenly 20 unmanned fighter jets on the deck where the crude oil barrels had just been moved. And he also had 2 more blueprints in his hand at the same time. Island Monument Transfer Scroll. Qin Tian is no stranger. At that time, if the coordinates of his god-level treasure island are exposed, maybe this Island Monument Transfer Scroll can come in handy. On the contrary, this creation-level pirate treasure map is a rare thing. Is it possible to get the lifelong wealth of a powerful pirate group after opening it? It would be nice if that was the case. Maybe he won't have to worry about the next supplies in World of Warships anymore. Qin Tian picked up the blueprint of the treasure map curiously. Then the reminder of the planet's will sounded in his mind. Ding! Congratulations on triggering the mission of the treasure of the Chengxing legendary pirate group. The sky is crying. The earth is burning. This planet, which was once regarded as a holy place by 10 civilizations in the Yangyuan galaxy, ushered in the invasion of 3 civilizations on this day. He should have been the pride of the empire, leading a fleet of 500 starships at the age of a weak crown, abruptly dragging down the footsteps of the entire Novi Third Star Fleet for 18 days, making Novi, who invaded the Chen Star Empire on the front line the main force of civilization, couldn't wait for reinforcements for a long time, and finally suffered heavy losses, becoming the first invading civilization that had to be expelled from the planet by the Chengxing Empire. He has proved his worth with his extraordinary talent and excellent commanding skills. Even though his father was imprisoned unjustly and became a criminal general of the empire, even though the once glorious family has quietly declined, he still proved his worth with his own actions. The Chengxing Bai family, the battle commander, is unparalleled. I thought that his own efforts and feats could be exchanged for the tolerance of the empire, and he could re-examine his father's crimes, but everything was in vain. The corrupt imperial army not only revoked the establishment of his legion, but also deprived him of all for his merits. He was expelled from the army, and on the 3rd day his father was taken to the execution ground and executed by shooting. At this moment, Bai Jian suddenly understood that there is no right or wrong at all, it's just that the conservative old nobles in the empire don't want to hand over the rights in their hands. Bai Ji didn't cry, but secretly swore in his heart that he would make the Chengxing Empire pay the due price. On this day, the empire lost a war commander who could dominate the battlefield, and gained a pirate leader who was like a wild wolf constantly tearing pieces of flesh from his old and bloated body. 5.9. Since there is no hope for tomorrow, I will break the shackles of darkness. Ding! Do you want to accept the mission of the treasure of the Chengxing legendary pirate group? You cannot cancel the mission after accepting it. You will not be able to leave World of Warships and go to the starry sky before the mission is completed. Listen to this introduction of the will of the planet and the following task requirements. Qin Tian couldn't help being a little stunned. Is this pirate treasure map mission so awesome? Although the quality of the creation level already represents the extraordinary degree of the task. But Qin Tian never thought that once he accepted this task, he would have to be compelled to complete it. Otherwise, even World of Warships will not be released in the future. Fortunately, he is still some time away from stepping into the universe, so he doesn't have to worry about this problem. 89%. Chapter 447 The Evil Commander Who Was Forced to Rebel, Beiji. And it actually involves the military department of the Chengxing Empire and a noble heir, and this noble heir seems to be very talented and capable. This is very interesting. There is no so-called 30 years in Hedong and 30 years in Hexi. This white halberd is very straightforward. Just do it. I would rather be a pirate than fight to the death with the Chengxing Empire. And listen to it. The opponent seems to have a lot of momentum in the future. Being able to become a legend in the pirate world must have brought a lot of trouble to the Chengxing Empire. Oh, why do you think so much? Don't you just ask those guys from the Chengxing Empire to find out? Qin Tian thought while patting his forehead. As for who to look for. Of course, he was looking for the veteran of the Chengxing Empire, Su Jian. Qin Tian raised his eyes and scanned the opposite deck. Soon, he found Su Jian looking up at the sky among the crowd. Old Su. Qin Tian walked over. He yelled softly to Su Jian, who was looking at the two mechas in the sky. Oh, it's the captain. 21 Su Jian came back to his senses, saw that it was Qin Tian, and saluted quickly. Don't be too polite, Mr. Su, I want to ask you something. Qin Tian nodded and expressed his intention of coming. Inquire about something, Su Jian asked with some doubts after hearing the words. I don't know what kind of things you want to know, Captain. Qin Tian asked. How much do you know about the White Halberd? White Halberd. Hear Qin Tian's words. Su Jian looked at his captain in surprise. Why did the captain ask about this? After a pause, he said with a look of nostalgia and regret on his apparently younger face recently, if it was in the past, people would have been detained by the Imperial Army if they talked about this in private. The hat of collusion and rebellion was forcibly taken away. At least 10 days and half a month. If you want to come out, don't even think about it without getting 10,000 to 20,000. The most serious thing is that they suffer inhuman treatment inside, and one who fails to do so may lose his life. But now that the empire is gone, these are irrelevant. Quote. With a sigh of emotion, Su Jian continued. Bai Ji is the only son of the Bai family, a newly promoted military family at the end of the empire, not only has an excellent talent for controlling mechas. At the same time, he also has a unique talent and insight into fleet command. The most famous battle in the past was when the armies of the three major cosmic civilizations, Zur, Novi, and Ryan, had already invaded this planet. Beiji relied on the more than 500 starships in his hand, and aimed at the opponent's fleet to break into the atmosphere during the period of weakness. It literally delayed Novi's follow-up reinforcements of more than 3,000 starships for a full 18 days. It bought precious time for the Second Fleet, which was fighting against the main force of Novi. In the end, the Second Fleet drove the Norwich civilization fleet out of the atmosphere. It's a pity that Bai Ji's mother was born too beautiful. He was favored by the third prince who had always had a problematic style in the empire. As a result, his father was imprisoned unjustly, and his mother disappeared inexplicably. Although Bai Ji proved his talent and commanding ability by relying on that battle, it also accelerated the demise of his family. After all, the old-fashioned faction of the Imperial Army at that time had long been dissatisfied with their newly promoted Bai family, who had taken a lot of benefits from them. Quote. Hear this. Qin Tian's eyes widened involuntarily. Old Su, what do you mean? The tragedy of the Beiji family was caused by the third prince of the empire. Could it be that the head of the Chengxing Empire didn't take care of it? Hey, Captain, you think too highly of that stupid king at the end of the empire. The third prince was able to do such a ridiculous thing. In fact, it is not an exaggeration to say that he has completely inherited his father's style. If it wasn't for an old comrade in arms of Bai Ji's father who couldn't see it, felt compassion, and sent someone to secretly tip him off, he probably couldn't even escape by himself. Quote. Such explosive news left Qin Tian dumbfounded. Ah, Mr. Su, I have to say, your monarch really has a lot of personality. For a moment, Qin Tian also had to lament the stupidity of the last emperor of the Chengxing Empire. No wonder he can become the king of subjugation. This is not without reason. Su Jian shook his head with a bitter smile when he heard the words, and said, "Anyway, since then, Beiji has set up an interstellar pirate group in outer space. The Empire didn't take it to heart at first. Concentrate all your energy on fighting the invaders. But soon they discovered how stupid their decision was. Because the speed of Beiji's development is really too fast. In just 2 months, he went from a defector with nothing to a super pirate king with more than 1,000 starships, the Y. Etc." Hearing Su Jian's words, Qin Tian couldn't help but interrupted. "In more than 2 months, more than 1,000 starships were created from scratch. Mr. Su, are you sure you did not say the wrong time?" Qin Tian frowned. "This is completely impossible. Unless the other party has the full support of some big forces. But more than 1,000 starships is not a small number of 837. Even if it is just the most common civilian spaceship, it should cost a lot of money to build one. Not to mention regular starships. Ordinary forces can't afford so much." Facing Qin Tian's doubts, Su Jian shook his head and said, "That's right, Captain, I think you should have guessed it. Beiji is indeed supported by other forces. The late and decaying empire introduced a lot of policies that made life difficult for the common people. Many immigrant planets and colonial planets have had multiple rebellions, which shows how far the empire has forced the common people. At that time, it was the 4 large business groups in the empire who chose to assist Beiji together with more than a dozen private enterprises. Not only paid for the smuggling of the starship. At the same time, it also spent huge sums of money to buy a large number of slaves from other civilizations as crew members. In this way, he helped Beiji form a starship pirate fleet. Originally, these ordinary people. It stands to reason that it is impossible to beat the elite fleet of the Imperial Interstellar Navy. But under Baiji's training and command, they took advantage of the time when the Empire was at war with the 3 major civilizations, continually encroaching on the Empire's small units of combat troops to plunder and develop. Wait until the Empire reacts again. It's too late. 89%. Chapter 448. Can the White Halberd actually destroy the fortress of the fallen of the twin Sauron civilization? The Empire's 5th fleet with more than 2,000 starships was wiped out from the front by more than 1,000 starships led by Beiji. I don't know how many warships were sunk, anyway, not long after that battle. Beiji's interstellar pirate fleet expanded to more than 1,500 starships. After that, the Empire's 4th fleet was ordered to encircle and suppress. He was beaten back by the opponent and almost lost his way. The 3rd fleet and the 2nd fleet also suffered a lot. Originally, the Chengxing Empire could take care of all 3 fronts. After being beaten by Baiji's interstellar pirate fleet, immediately, the strength of the troops became somewhat stretched. I remember it very well. When there is no one in the whole court who has a way to deal with it. Someone proposed a peace proposal, claiming that Baiji is a peerless genius of the imperial army. Such a talent should not be used frantically to deal with the empire's own people, but should serve the empire in this chaotic world where foreign enemies are invading and everyone is struggling. It is only right for the masses to seek a piece of peace. At that time, I was sitting on a seat in the council hall. Hearing these words is really losing all expectations for this empire. Quote. Listen to these words of Su Jian. Qin Tian could completely imagine how ironic that scene was. It was obviously a peerless evildoer who was forced to turn against them by themselves. In the end, he became the sinner of the human race who they said was disregarding the overall situation and seemed to be heinous. You should come back obediently like a dog, and help them fight bloody battles against the 3 major alien civilizations that invaded. It can only be said that there will be no shortage of these people who are in high positions without much ability no matter what era they are in. Put it in ancient times. These people are treacherous ministers such as Qin Wei, Zhao Gao, and Kai Jing who have been infamous for thousands of years. Once such a person has the right to speak in the country, then the country is often not far from destruction. Old Su, did Baiji help the empire later? Qin Tian couldn't help asking curiously. How could it be possible to help? The roots of the empire have been corrupted from the inside, and everyone knows this. Unless it is overthrown and rebuilt, no one can save this behemoth that has fallen into the abyss. The two chatted without saying a word. Later, I even went out and went crazy and came back. After Yun Yan's thoughts cleared up, she heard Qin Tian's inquiry about Baiji. They couldn't help but join the chat. Even now and then I will say a word or two to express their views, although the two of them didn't know what happened later. But both of them were still alive when the Bai family had an accident. Although he has been busy fighting around on the front line. But it's about a family. More or less, they can still know some internal secrets. Also from this point on, Qin Tian can also see it. Back then, the Chengxing Empire prohibited people from chatting about Beiji in private. Although this approach temporarily curbs the spread and extension of the topic. But it can't suppress the thoughts in people's hearts at all. So let's talk about it now. All the insiders chatted very enthusiastically. Until dinner at night, after the live broadcast room is closed. Only then did Qin Tian throw out the question he was most concerned about. Old Su, do you know where the last track of the Riji's activities was before his death? He asked expectantly. He could only pin this clue on the other party. Because later Yun Yan and Rui are already GG. It is impossible to know the last trajectory of Beiji's activities. The requirement of the will of the planet is that he cannot leave World of Warships and go to outer space until he completes the mission. So obviously, when Baiji finally died, he died on this planet. The last track of activity. Hear Qin Tian's questioning. After Su Jian lowered his head and thought for a while, he said slowly, if I remember correctly, he should have fought a battle with the fleet of the twin Sauron civilization at the West Pole starport in the end. It is said that he sacrificed 2,000 at the cost of several starships. They ambushed one of the opponent's main fleets, and successfully destroyed the opponent's 2 fallen fortresses and most of the corruptor starfleet. Hiss. When I heard Su Jian's words, no one else felt much. But Rui gasped involuntarily. Old Su, do you mean that Beiji used his interstellar pirate fleet to kill the 2 fortresses of the fallen and half of the main fleet of the twin Sauron civilization? His eyes widened slightly, and he asked with a hint of surprise on his face. Yes, Su Jian nodded and said with certainty. Sharp, Rui sighed with emotion, and said, the fortress of the fallen in the twin Sauron civilization is definitely a nightmare for countless civilized planets. Once they invade the interior of a planetary civilization, the ray cannons and corrupted particle cannons they fire will cause irreversible pollution to the planet's ecological environment. The tragedy in the Sea of Death dungeon is the best proof. Quote. Sea of Death dungeon. What is that? Su Jian asked curiously. There is. Rui opened his mouth, finally sighed and said, the captain's next stop should be there. Mr. Su, you will know when you go to see it. Rui didn't say much on this, and continued the topic just now. I tried to destroy them, but I couldn't get close to them because of the densely packed naval guns and bioenergy missiles installed on the surface. Unexpectedly, Baiji could actually command the starship to destroy the opponent's 2 giant disgusting fortresses. This command technique is much better than the good commanders of the Starfleet in the Imperial Interstellar. Quote. At this time, Qin Tian could no longer care about the content of the chat between Ting Rui and Su Jian. Because after Su Jian said this clue, suddenly, the reminder of the will of the planet sounded in his mind. Ding! Get the clues of the legendary pirate King Baiji. The chosen ones are invited to complete the task and explore as soon as possible. Hear the beep of the will of the planet. Qin Tian was already sure that there was nothing wrong with Su Jian's direction. In this case, then you need to know where the West Starport is located. Think here. Qin Tian asked directly. Where is the West Starport? Is it far from us? Hear Qin Tian's words. Yun Yan said directly. Captain, the West Pole Starport is a star station built in the extreme west, which can lead from the surface to outer space. I remember the coordinates. There are 4x, 89%. Chapter 449. It takes 80 days for the clue to the treasure map. Hear this. Qin Tian immediately walked towards the control room. Behind Yun Yan, Rui and Su Jian looked at each other. He took a step and followed closely behind. Captain, Lord Rui, Lord Union, Old Su. Come to the control room. Zula, Dong Zhuang and the others looked in surprise at the 4 big men who came together. They hurriedly saluted and said hello. Qin Tian nodded in agreement, and then said to Chu Hongbao, Hongbao, search for a coordinate for me, and see how long it will take to reach the destination from us. Yes, press. Chu Hongbao immediately operated after hearing the words. Qin Tian looked at Yun Yan. Oh. Seeing this, Yun Yan was stunned for a moment. Immediately reacting, she immediately told Chu Ying the coordinates of West Starport. Chu Hongbao entered the coordinates and searched. Then, a few people saw Chu Hongbao's expression suddenly become weird. How is it? Hong Bao, did you find this emoticon in the search or did you not find 847? Qin Tian looked at him and asked a little strangely. Captain, the search has been found, and this is the number of days. Chu Hongbao said hesitantly. What happened to the number of days? Qin Tian was curious. Chu Hongbao swallowed his saliva and said, Captain, according to the scan, the coordinates are more than 80 days away from our current voyage. So far. Hearing this, Qin Tian was also a little surprised. Then save the coordinates first, and go there after we finish our business here. Qin Tian said helplessly. Captain, this is a normal phenomenon. The West Pole is at the westernmost end of the planet. It was originally far away from us inland. Although the entire planet is now submerged in seawater, the essential distance has not changed. Even because the reason why the seawater has risen and enveloped the entire mountain and river, the distance may become even further. Su Jian told Qin Tian what he had always guessed. Qin Tian thinks about it too. Even the high-rise buildings with a distance of hundreds of meters and hundreds of meters in the whole world were flooded. It is conceivable how much the sea level has risen. No, Captain, how did you suddenly know about Koji and care about him so much? Did something happen? Until then, it was only then that Yun Yan asked curiously about the doubts in her heart. It's true that something happened. From the creation-level treasure chest, I opened a blueprint of a legendary pirate's treasure map. The clues on it point directly to the White Halberd. Facing Yun Yan's question, Qin Tian said, although we don't know what the treasure left by the other party is, it is obvious that we must find the place where the other party fell. Hear Qin Tian's words. Only then did everyone suddenly realize. But then, Yun Yan's pretty face showed an expression of incomparable surprise. Wait, Captain, you mean to open a treasure map? Is it the treasure map of that guy Beiji? Yes, what's the matter? Facing Yun Yan's question, Qin Tian asked suspiciously. My God, Captain, there are quite a few 5th generation and 6th generation mechas in that fellow Beiji's Starfleet, and there seem to be more than a dozen 7th generation mechas. If we find them, then we can just make a lot of money. Yun Yan said excitedly. Oh, is there such a good thing? Hear Yun Yan's words. Qin Tian's eyes couldn't help but light up, and there was a little expectation on his face. The limited edition of the 4th generation machines is already a powerful batch. Not much. At that time, we only need to get 4 more limited edition 6th generation mechas for Rui and Union, and then give these 5 4th generation mechas to Yan Jian and his A-level combat crew. The comprehensive strength of one's own battleship will be able to get a qualitative leap immediately, CBDH. Yun Yan, you can't expect too much from this kind of uncertain thing. If it doesn't happen by then, wouldn't it be a waste of trouble for the captain and yourself? At this time, Rui on the side spoke. Give her a warning and don't let her have too high expectations. We all know that the 6th generation machine is good. But in case there is no 6th generation mecha or blueprint in the place where Beiji hides the treasure. Aren't they just having fun? Yeah, Xiao Yan, we still have to think long-term about this matter, and don't take the 6th generation machine too seriously. It's my luck to lose my life, and we don't force it. Su Jian also said persuasion from the side. Oh, can't you let me fantasize in my heart to satisfy myself? Oh, forget it. Anyway, now that I have a limited edition quasi-5th generation machine, I am also satisfied. Yun Yan said with a helpless sigh. Ha ha ha, that's fine, it's just such a thing anyway, as long as you have an idea in your mind. It's getting late, you all go back and rest. After a while, we will go to the Sea of Death dungeon. Maybe there will be a series of battles to greet us at that time, so the big guys are getting enough energy these days to prepare for the next battle. Quote. Hear Yun Yan's words. Qin Tian couldn't help but smiled and said to the 3 of them. The 3 nodded. After saying hello to Qin Tian, he left the control room. After sending the 3 of them away, Qin Tian said to the 3 of Zula in the control room, if you are tired, go to rest in separate shifts. According to the hints I got, the dungeon boss of this hell level difficulty is resurrected every morning at 8 o'clock and starts its activities. So you don't have to worry about anything, just leave someone alone to watch the radar at night, and don't be made dumplings by other gods chosen. If it really doesn't work, I will pick a few more people from those new crew members to get used to it, so that I can rotate with you when the time comes. Okay, Captain, we're all fine. Hear Qin Tian's words. The 3 nodded, and they agreed with Qin Tian's idea. Today they saw with their own eyes that their own captain directly harvested a large stack of blueprints for warships. So wait until they occupy the god-level treasure island. The scale of Qin Shui's fleet is bound to expand. Instead of occupying the goddess of nemesis, Qin Tian will feel unhappy when the time comes. It's better to take the initiative to obediently let the virtuous, and leave a good impression in Qin Tian's heart. It would be great to be able to get a warship with better performance and higher quality in the future. After all, their talents are there. They still know how much they weigh. Nodded. After exhorting a few more words, Qin Tian also left the control room. Go back to your rest cabin to rest. 89%. Chapter 450 Fighting the Xingyu again, the opponent doesn't talk about martial arts. Tomorrow, he had to take a look at this dungeon with hell-level difficulty without land reclamation rewards. How many drawings of warships can be provided to him? Nothing to say all night. The next morning, Qin Tian hurriedly washed up and filled her stomach. Seeing that the time is already past 8 o'clock, he immediately strode into the control room. Captain saw him coming. Zula and the three of them rushed to say hello. Qin Tian nodded and said, "How is it? Have you found any traces of the boss?" Zula shook his head when he heard the words, and said, "It's not shown on the radar." Hear Zhu Li's words. Qin Tian knew that this dungeon with hell-level difficulty was still the same as a normal dungeon. You have to find it yourself to trigger the dungeon campaign. Land can be found as easily as yesterday, and he can directly enter the dungeon battle to start fighting. Obviously, it has occupied the land reclamation benefits and discounts given during the land reclamation of hell-level difficulty dungeons. Since the ordinary radar on the Nemesis cannot scan the trace of the dungeon boss, then he can only rely on the flat map of the divine detective technique to search. Within a search range of 30 nautical miles, as the battleship keeps sailing, Qin Tian quickly found the icon of the star warship, and let Zula report again. The radar still didn't show the icon of the hell-level difficulty dungeon boss. Obviously, in this copy, the radar of the battleship has no effect on these bosses at all. Hong Bao, steer the battleship towards 2 o'clock, the boss we are looking for is right there. Found the target. Qin Tian didn't delay either. Immediately issued an order to Chu Hongbao. Understood, Captain. The latter immediately began to turn the rudder upon hearing this. After sailing for a while, so people also discovered the interstellar warship Xingyu lying at the end of the sea level. The same attitude as yesterday. The Xingyu was suspended in midair above the sea. It's as if it's been there forever. See target. Qin Tian did not hesitate at all. Facing Dong Zhuang, he said, "Old Dong, sound the alarm and let everyone get ready for battle." Yes, Captain. Dong Zhuang did as he was told. Soon the alarm bells on the battleship rang loudly, and the red alarm lights began to flash continuously. Wait until all battleships are just ready for battle. The surrounding sea area suddenly began to change. The sky turns black. The turquoise water began to turn red. The bloody full moon slowly emerged like a huge eyeball. He stared ferociously and calmly at the sea area. Qin Tian's entire fleet of 11 warships has just been pulled into this dungeon sea area independent of the outside world. He found that Xingyu suddenly started to turn its direction. Slowly move the front face towards them. This made Qin Tian feel a bad feeling in his heart. Special meow. Could it be that without the land reclamation benefits, the opponent's starship will be the first to destroy them? And then waited for him to give the order. A large number of missiles flew directly from the Xingyu. At the same time, the 4 giant planetary laser launchers on the ship also began to light up with dazzling red and white light. This is obviously charging. Lie down. See this scene. Qin Tian was shocked immediately. What kind of hatred is this special? Use the big killer as soon as you come out. Hurry up. Hong Bao, let the battleship take off. Qin Tian opened his eyes wide and shouted anxiously. He couldn't help being in a hurry. He never expected that this time, the dungeon boss Xingyu with hell-level difficulty would attack first without paying attention to martial arts. And after firing a round of missiles, it will directly turn on its large-caliber, giant planetary laser launcher to strike. His nemesis has sufficient blood. Naturally, they are not afraid of the opponent's laser cannon bombardment. But the 10 other warships behind him can't do it. Even if the Phoenix was bombarded by the opponent's giant planetary laser launcher, it would probably be blown up in an instant. Thinking of this, he wished that his goddess of Nemesis would fly forward immediately. Block the opponent's laser cannon. Lifting off. But facing Qin Tian's anxiety, Chu Hongbao immediately responded when he heard the words. Asking for flowers. Immediately, the goddess of Nemesis left the sea, slowly flying towards the opponent's Xingyu. Such a fast lift-off speed made Qin Tian feel a little relieved. And in fact, the moment the battleship entered the Dungeon Sea area, the combat situation yesterday was still vivid, and Dong Zhuang had already activated the battleship's lift engine. Have to say, there is Qin Tian, a captain with an amazing ability to collect supplies. These crew members don't have to feel intimidated by using the resources of the battleship, even if it consumes some crude oil. He also dared to turn on the lift engine in advance. Fortunately, the 4 giant planetary laser launchers of Xingyu need to be charged for about a minute to use. 0. Although time is still tight. But at least it gave the goddess of Nemesis a chance to soar into the sky and stand in front of the other warships. I saw a dazzling laser beam flashing past and bombarding the front face of Nemesis. The battleships behind him were also attacked by missiles from the Xingyu one after another. But compared with the 4 purple quality giant planetary laser launchers that can hit nearly 300,000 HP in 5 or 6 seconds, the missiles that can only deal tens of thousands of damage are really weak. At this time, seeing that Qin Tian's goddess of Nemesis has successfully held back the aggro of the dungeon boss, the remaining 10 warships also began to attack with all their might. After Yao Lang saw the goddess of Nemesis rising into the air, in a timely manner, a undead feature buff bonus was applied to it. Seeing that the undead feature buff has arrived, Qin Tian immediately asked Dong Zhuang to notify Rui and Union to attack. Captain Li is standing next to Lord Union's Genesis Class F-35 vertical takeoff and landing stealth fighter, waving his hands continuously, as if he is requesting to fight. After Dong Zhuang notified Rui and Union of the attack instructions on the radio, he turned his head and said something to Qin Tian. What is he doing next to Union's fighter jet? Qin Tian stood up and came to the center console, looking out through the bulletproof stripping of the window. 89%. Chapter 451 Genesis-class carrier-based small nuclear power plant. Look around. Sure enough, Qin Tian saw Li Yao standing next to the Genesis-class F-35 vertical takeoff and landing stealth fighter that Union drove before. He kept waving his hands towards the console to signal. At the same time, Qin Tian also saw Yun Yan, who was going to the cockpit of the mecha by the elevator, and stretched out her hand towards Li Yao to give a thumbs up. Don't look. This is obviously because Union has a better mech. She directly gave up the Genesis-class fighter jet she drove to Li Yao. To this, Qin Tian didn't say much either. He just nodded and said to Dong Zhuang, "Promise her, let her attack too." Letting the opponent make a move can just give one's own battleship a shield that owns 10% of the battleship. Why not do it? Captain Li, you can attack. With Qin Tian's order, Dong Zhuang immediately disappeared. Facing the microphone, he agreed to Li Yao's challenge. Qin Tian looked through the window. After seeing Li Yao happily waved his hand towards him. Immediately, he quickly opened the hood and jumped onto the fighter jet. It wasn't long after Rui and Union took off with their respective unmanned combat teams. Li Yao also flew that Genesis-class F-35 vertical takeoff and landing stealth fighter smoothly. Then a burst of flames sprayed from the tail. Then he drove the fighter plane towards the Xingyu not far away at a fast speed. Boom boom boom. As for Qin Tian, he was also unambiguous. Come and not reciprocate indecently. After Rui, Yun Yan and Li Yao drove their respective mechs and fighter jets, they set off. Qin Tian immediately used 3 Genesis-class triple-mounted Mk 406mm main naval guns to use that must hit 3 companies to start bombardment. Zula and Dong Zhuang also turned on the fire control system. All kinds of missiles and shells started to greet them for free. This is just the beginning of the fight. The battle between the two sides can't wait to enter the white heat directly. Although there is yesterday's combat experience, Zula and the others controlled the Nemesis and fought with the opponent's interstellar guided missile destroyer a lot more calmly. But the opponent's blood volume of more than 11 million is too thick. I really don't know what technology and hard work the Chengxing Empire used to build this starship, in order to superimpose the blood volume of an assassin to the level of a tank abruptly. Therefore, even though Rui and Union were driving 2 mechas with good combat effectiveness this time, Li Yao also participated in the battle in a Genesis-class fighter. But the whole battle was still not much faster than yesterday. It was still from morning to noon. Have to say, the ability of the opponent's strong magnetic shield is really strong. Just hit the blood volume of this shield. Qin Tian felt that he had shot tens of millions more HP. No wonder Ray had told him that. How important is the shield of the starship? After 2 days of fighting, Qin Tian has a deep understanding of this. Finally, after playing for a whole morning, I finally cleared the HP of Xingyu. Lan's consciousness did not reappear as expected. In this case, Qin Tian didn't waste any more time. Immediately began to receive the dungeon rewards that he never forgot. Soon 3 more cards appeared in front of him. Have nothing to say. Qin Tian is still using his talent Divine Detective Technique to investigate. Epic Quality Warship Blueprint times 10. Advanced Blue Quality Battleship Blueprint times 5. Advanced Blue Quality Battleship Blueprint times 10. Really? After seeing the reward content of the 3 cards clearly, Qin Tian secretly sighed in his heart. Without the blessing of land reclamation rewards. Sure enough, the dungeon reward dropped to the point where it was unbearable to look directly at. After choosing 10 epic quality battleship blueprints with a thought, Qin Tian immediately asked Chu Hongbao to lower the battleship back into the sea. Had lunch. After a little rest, he was busy immediately. Start to strengthen your battleship. The first thing to do is naturally to get out the small nuclear power plant on board. Because of this, he will be able to install the 4 Genesis-class Thunder laser air defense launchers. After this thing is strengthened, it can deal more than 30,000 damage with 1 laser shot. Just these 4 laser cannons fired out in 1 round. That can directly deal more than 140,000 damage. And because their emission has the effect of a straight line and the speed of light. Almost here, just aim and press launch. It's been hit over there. So there is very little deviation in the accuracy. Qin Tian found Ma Yongganian. After asking the other party to take the lead in finding a cabin of more than 400 square meters on the lower floor, Qin Tian immediately took out the blueprint, selected Advanced, and began to build. Building a Genesis-class shipboard small nuclear power plant requires 30,000 high-quality crystal ores, 60,000 high-quality nails, 80,000 high-quality metal sheets, and 150,000 high-quality plastics. Do you want to build it? Put up. Qin Tian nodded in agreement with some pity for the fine crystal mine. Yesterday he asked Sun Xiaoyang and the others to synthesize all the low-quality crystal ores and ordinary crystal ores into high-quality crystal ores. A total of 160,000 units of high-quality crystal ore. 32,000 has been spent to manufacture 4 mechs. Now it would cost him another 30,000 units of high-quality crystal ore to get such a Genesis-class shipboard small nuclear power plant. 160,000 units of high-quality crystal ore haven't spent much yet. It's already used up half of it. This is really a waste of money. But expensive, although it is a bit expensive. But expensive does have its benefits. Visible to the naked eye, some extremely complex buildings began to be erected in the originally extremely empty cabin. First, the walls of the entire cabin were covered by a special golden metal object that had never been seen before. Qin Tian guessed that this should be a protective wall specially used to prevent 0.1 nuclear radiation from spreading. He checked it out with a detective technique. Item: Genesis-grade nuclear gold bulkhead. Quality: colorful. Efficacy: the absolute defense measures of the shipboard small nuclear power plant can completely absorb nuclear radiation and convert it into the energy specially required by crawler intelligent robots. The bulkhead can increase the power of the atomic reactor by an additional 20%. After seeing the complete absorption of nuclear radiation mentioned in efficacy and converting it into the energy required by crawler intelligent robots, a smile appeared on Qin Tian's face immediately. Awesome. Then under his gaze, 4 robots that were slightly different from the crawler-type intelligent robots in the Genesis-class Universal Military Industrial Cabin soon appeared on the open space of the cabin. 90%. Chapter 452 Genesis-class Thunder Laser Air Defense Launcher. Look at these 4 tracked intelligent robots. Qin Tian didn't bother to care about the difference between them. What he cares more about is, with these 4 intelligent robots specially equipped for the shipborne small nuclear power plant there are. Then he would not have to worry about the daily operation and maintenance of small nuclear power plants. In this way, major problems such as crew operating errors can be avoided to the greatest extent. Wait until everything is settled. Qin Tian used the Divine Detective Technique to look at the information of the entire shipboard small nuclear power plant. All kinds of complicated technical terms and words make him confused. Although he can't understand most of the things. But he can still understand the 760,000 kilowatt class. It stands to reason that such hundreds of thousands of kilowatts of nuclear power plants are built in cities. enough to supply hundreds of thousands of people with electricity. But now it has been reduced to such a point that it can supply electricity for a battleship alone. This epic-making black technology is simply beyond words. The function and ability are the best of quack. And what's even better is that General 21st World Nuclear Bulkhead can also increase the power by an additional 20%. What is 20% of 760,000? That's more than 150,000. So the small nuclear power plant he created can actually supply more than 900,000 kilowatts of electricity. It is even much more powerful than the supernuclear power plants built in many cities in the previous life. Now that there is a nuclear power plant, then naturally it is time to get Genesis-class Thunder Laser Air Defense Launcher and Genesis-class Plasma Cannon. Once these two big killers are out, guaranteed to hit the Xingyu tomorrow, it will be as easy as if I hit my son. Go to the warehouse and move the 4 Genesis-class Thunder Laser anti-aircraft launchers to the deck. Qin Tian found 4 new battleship armament slots and prepared to install them. After that, Nemesis was upgraded to a large attack aircraft carrier. 6 new weapon slots have been added to the deck and side platforms. But now these 4 Genesis-level Thunder Laser Air Defense Launchers plus 1 Genesis-level Plasma Cannon have almost occupied these 6 slots. Install the 4 Genesis-class Thunder Laser Air Defense Launchers. Qin Tian checked it out. After confirming that the 4 laser anti-aircraft launchers have been connected to the circuit of the shipborne small nuclear power plant. Only then did Qin Tian begin to strengthen it. Advanced Enhanced Genesis-class Thunder Laser Air Defense Launcher requires 15,000 high-quality crystals, 70,000 high-quality metal pieces, and 60,000 high-quality nails. Does the captain want to strengthen it? Strengthen. Qin Tian clenched his fists tightly, nodded as if bleeding from his heart, and said. At this time, there were only 98,000 units of high-quality crystal ore left in his hand. This Genesis-class Thunder Laser Air Defense Launcher requires 15,000 high-quality crystal ores to strengthen one. All 4 of them have completed a full 60,000 units of high-quality crystal mines. At that time, the remaining 38,000 units of high-quality crystal ore may be enough to manufacture Genesis-level plasma cannon. Helplessly shook his head, with a golden streamer flashed. The world-class Thunder Laser anti-aircraft launcher in front of him instantly became more refined and thick. Qin Tian thought. Facing it, he used his innate skill, Divine Detective Technique. Item. Genesis-class Thunder Laser Air Defense Launcher. Quality. Colorful. Ix. 36,000. Effective range. 8,000 kilometers. Durability. 10,000. Effective rate of fire. 36 rounds per minute. Requirement. For every 5,000 units of power consumed, it can be launched for 1 minute. Introduction. A super killer weapon used for air defense. Any object, as long as it is aimed at the moment, it has already represented the end. Of course, since it can only be launched in a directional manner, the aim is slightly insufficient. There is a chance to launch 2 bursts of pulsed lasers, and the cooling time is 4 seconds. The beef batch is the beef batch. But the accuracy is a big problem. After reading the attribute panel of this Genesis-class Thunder Laser Air Defense Launcher, while Qin Tian was happy, he was also worried. These 4 Genesis-class Thunder Laser Air Defense Launchers are specially used for air defense. It would be better if you encounter a large interstellar warship like Xingyu. Get closer, relying on the Nemesis' blood thickness to attack high. He can use this Genesis-class Thunder Laser anti-aircraft launcher to shoot at the opponent's starship at a low position. But if you encounter individual combat weapons such as fighter jets and mechas, which can easily fly at Mach 2, then this Genesis-level Thunder Laser Air Defense Launcher has a high probability of being played 10 times, and 9 times it will fail. Finally, on air defense, still have to look at the 20 mythical Y1130 close-in anti-aircraft guns. Don't look at this guy who seems to be a little out of step with this era of lasers or plasma cannons. But the rate of fire of 10,000 rounds per minute, and the damage value of more than 300 to more than 500 and 990. Really want to hit all of them on the enemy. In that minute, it directly caused more than 3.5 million damage. Of course, the shortcomings of mythical Y1130 close-in defense gun are also obvious. Because it is a metal bullet, it is a pure physical attack. If the opponent's starship has better armor materials, or has a shield that specifically restrains this aspect, there is a high probability that the damage of more than 3.5 million will be reduced by 60 to 70%. And because of the effective range of 3,000 meters, it will also be unable to attack the target manually. It can only passively defend against the missiles and rockets that fly over. So play around. The use of naval guns for air defense is still a bit hip, and it still depends on Rui and Union, the top crew members of the interstellar fighters. Only by cultivating them, eliminate all the enemy's air power. Then I don't have to hate on air defense. There is a good saying. The best defense is offense. It's not suitable for this. After completing the Genesis-class Thunder Laser Air Defense Launcher, then came the blueprint in hand. Call Xingyu tomorrow. The blueprint in his hand is the real key. 90%. Chapter 453 The Terrifying Creation Class Plasma Naval Gun. More than 30,000 high-quality crystal ores. It should be enough to make that Genesis-level plasma cannon. Qin Tian prayed secretly in his heart. Then he used divine detective technique to look at the blueprint in his hand. Item: Epic Class Plasma Naval Gun Blueprint. Quality: purple. Production requirements: 8,000 ordinary crystal ores, 50,000 ordinary plastics, 30,000 ordinary metal sheets, 20,000 ordinary nails, 4,001 elite sea beast teeth. Efficacy: it can be used to make purple epic plasma naval guns. Ordinary advancement: low quality crystal ore 80,000, low quality plastic 240,000, low quality metal sheet 200,000, low quality nails 180,000, ordinary sea beast teeth 800, can be advanced to orange legendary plasma naval gun. Quality advancement: 50,000 ordinary crystal ores, 160,000 ordinary plastics, 150,000 ordinary metal sheets, 120,000 ordinary nails, 600 elite sea beast teeth, which can be advanced into red mythical plasma naval guns. Advanced advancement: 30,000 high-quality crystal mines, 100,000 high-quality plastics, 70,000 high-quality metal sheets, 50,000 high-quality nails, 00 top-quality sea beasts, and can be advanced into colorful creation-level plasma naval guns. After seeing that 30,000 units of fine crystal ore are needed to manufacture the Genesis-class plasma naval gun, Qin Tian breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. Anyway, it's good to be able to manufacture it. He had a thought. I want to manufacture it on an armament platform on the side. The result was a red glow. Indicates that it cannot be built here. Unbelievable. Qin Tian chose another side to create. The results showed the same. It seems that the size of this Genesis-class plasma naval gun is obviously not small. The armament platform on the side of the ship couldn't accommodate it. Think about it. Qin Tian stepped onto the other empty deck. Manufacturing was carried out after the location was selected. And this time it didn't fail again. The reminder of the will of the planet rang directly in his mind. The manufacture of Genesis-class plasma naval guns requires 30,000 high-quality crystal ores, 100,000 high-quality plastics, 70,000 high-quality metal sheets, 50,000 high-quality nails, and 500 top-quality sea beast teeth. Do you want to manufacture them? Manufacture. Qin Tian nodded and chose to agree. With the disappearance of the blueprint in hand, soon, on the deck appeared an epic-making naval gun full of sci-fi atmosphere, even bigger than the Genesis-class triple-mounted Mk 406mm main naval gun. In the studio, after seeing this scene, everyone watching couldn't help but be attracted to it. What kind of weapon is this? Why does it look so sci-fi? I bought it for karma. This is not a laser cannon, is it? It should not be a laser cannon. If you want to talk about a laser cannon, the four before it are quite possible. I worked in the scientific research department of the Yi Empire before, and I have seen some low-power laser cannons. Is the one upstairs so awesome? Then, the four identical naval guns that God Qin made before are all laser cannons. My God, the speed of Qin Tian's development is too fast. How many of the God chosen who came in with him before are still working hard on the destroyer, but this Qin Tian has been upgraded to a large aerospace aircraft carrier. In other words, even weapons have begun to manufacture epic-making kinetic energy weapons. This gap is really too big. This is normal. In World of Warships, talent and strength are very important. Let alone Qin Tian from the Yanlong Empire. Just look at the group of chosen ones from the Lighthouse Empire who came in with Lord Reese. Our Reese a few days ago, my lord has upgraded the battleship to a small space carrier, but there are still many God of the chosen battleships still staying on the destroyer. It has been about 2 years, let alone Qin Tian, and they just came in. It took about half a year. Hiss, the more I look at the position of the cannon muzzle, the more it looks like a focuser and an amplifier. Could it be that Qin Tian got a plasma cannon? In the studio, everyone looked at the naval gun full of sci-fi shapes and was full of guesses and doubts. And on the deck of the Goddess of Nemesis, Qin Tian walked a few steps away. Looking back at this big killer from a distance, I saw that the base and barrel of this Genesis-class plasma naval gun showed the color of Andean gray. The second half of the gun barrel is dazzling crystal white. The gun barrel, which is enough to hold a 200 fat man, is wrapped by 3 focusers and amplifiers extending from the gun body. Take a sudden look. The entire muzzle gives a petal-like aesthetic. Qin Tian wanted to know very much. Under this beautiful muzzle, what will be the power of the fired kinetic energy cannon? With a thought, Qin Tian used the divine detective technique on the creation-class plasma naval cannon in front of him. Item: Genesis-class plasma naval cannon. Quality: colorful. IX: 54000-68000. Effective range: 50,000 meters. Durability: 20,000. Effective rate of fire: 20 rounds per minute. Requirement: for every 10,000 units of power consumed, it can be launched for 1 minute. Introduction. This is a super weapon suitable for interstellar battles. The powerful energy impact can destroy any target it hits, but it should be noted that in the atmosphere, the farther away it strikes the target, the less damage it will cause. What the hell? When you see the attack value of 54000-68000, Qin Tian was also severely shocked in his heart. With money, it can fire 20 rounds in 1 minute. On average, 1 shot is fired every 3 seconds. If all can hit the target, he can knock out more than 1 million blood of the target in 1 minute. You must know that this is not like the mythical Y1130 close-in defense gun that can only deal damage within a range of 3,000 meters. It's the attack value that can really be played at a distance of 50 kilometers. Cool. Although this Genesis-class plasma naval cannon is a waste after it is manufactured, there are only 8,000 units of fine crystal ore left in his hand. Moreover, the power consumption displayed in requirements is also quite a lot. 10,000 units of electrical energy equals 10,000 kilowatts of electricity. But everything is worth the money. This Genesis-level plasma naval gun and 4 Genesis-level Thunder laser anti-aircraft launchers suddenly increased his combat effectiveness by a large amount. 90%. Chapter 454. The only title, Hell Messenger. Although these naval guns are big power consumers, but Qin Tian, who owns a Genesis-class carrier-based small nuclear power plant with a total power storage of more than 900,000 kilowatts, is not in vain. He can fully afford these expenses. Next, let's see how much clearance time can be reduced by facing the Xingyu tomorrow. Captain. And at this moment, Zhu Li's voice suddenly sounded behind him. Qin Tian turned his head to look. I saw Zhu Li walking towards him quickly. What's the matter, old Zhu? Are there a few more launch buttons on the center console? As soon as Qin Tian saw each other, he already roughly guessed the other party's intention in his heart. For a while, he asked with a slight smile at the corner of his mouth. Hey, that's right, Captain, just now there are 5 more control buttons on the center console. I saw that you were busy on the deck and made such a giant cannon, so I came here to ask. Seeing Qin Tian, Zhu Li guessed what he was thinking. Immediately stretched out a thumbs up and said with a smile. You came just in time. I'll explain it to you, and when you go back later, tell old Dong that these 2 kinds of warship armaments are crucial to our future battles. Qin Tian nodded and said something to the other party. Then he pointed to the Genesis-class plasma naval gun in front of 000 and said, this is a plasma naval gun with super powerful attack. You will use it as the main naval gun of our battleship in the future. You will definitely not be able to put it down. After hearing that this is actually a plasma naval gun, the people in the live broadcast room were all shocked. Some of them were just guessing before. It is now confirmed. For a moment, they were full of shock and curiosity to observe carefully. After all, in this world, with the power of today's technology, it is still somewhat difficult to manufacture high-energy lethal weapons such as plasma. And Qin Tian sighed. After introducing Genesis-class plasma naval cannon, he then brought Zhu Li to the right side of the ship. Pointing to the Genesis-class Thunder laser anti-aircraft launcher with the gun barrel raised at 45 degrees, he said, Old Zhu, this is a laser anti-aircraft launcher. There are 4 in total. Although it can only be used to hit air units, the damage is the same. Not low. Wait until tomorrow you and old Dong operate well. Let me see what kind of surprise these 2 epic-making weapons can bring to that boss, Xingyu. Understood. Captain, leave it to us. CBDD. Seeing that the captain of his own ship actually produced 5 such amazing epic-making naval guns, Zula was also excited. Facing Qin Tian's request, he agreed loudly without hesitation. Zula was sent away. The idle and bored Qin Tian opened the data backpack with his mind and took a look. There are only 8,000 fine crystals left, and there are no sci-fi weapons that can be obtained in the drawings to build him. So he set his sights on the unmanned fighter jet. He opened the treasure chest before. Directly launched 20 Genesis-class unmanned fighter jets. So now he has 45 unmanned fighter jets under his hands. But for the Nemesis, which can carry 220 carrier-based aircraft, 45 unmanned combat aircraft is simply pitiful. 2 flight decks, and they don't even cover half of one of them. So Qin Tian took a look at the top-quality sea beast teeth that still had more than 1,800 pieces. Go straight back to the deck on the other side and start manufacturing. Now he has a total of 40 drawings of unmanned fighter jets in his hand. They are all the ones that can be advanced to the creation level. Follow advanced requirements. Every time a Genesis level UCAV is manufactured, 40 top-grade sea beast teeth are needed. In other words, he only needs to consume 1,600 top-grade sea beast teeth. All 40 unmanned fighter jets can be manufactured. So Qin Tian didn't waste any time. Holding the blueprints, they started manufacturing one by one. After more than an hour, the deck was originally relatively empty. With the emergence of 40 unmanned fighter jets, the space suddenly became tense. Face this scene. To say who is the happiest. This is undoubtedly the happiest for Rui and Union, who are teaching Weiyu and Li Yao how to control the mecha. Massive increase in UCAVs. This means that the air force they lead will be greatly enhanced. In this way, even when they face enemies several times their own, it also has more confidence to fight. Rui, Union, completed the unmanned combat aircraft. Qin Tian shouted towards the cockpit positions of the 2 mechas from below. Immediately, the heads of Union, Li Yao, Rui and Weiyu poked out from the 2 cockpits. You guys put all your mechs on the deck over there in a while, and this deck will be used exclusively for fighter jets in the future, and put your mechs over there. Qin Tian said to them. Yes, Captain. Understood, we'll get there. The 4 agreed. Then he retracted his body and continued to manipulate it. And Qin Tian, who had been busy all afternoon, looked at the sky and it was already evening. He immediately returned to his rest cabin. I took a cold and refreshing apple from the refrigerator, put it in my mouth and ate it in big mouthfuls. Didn't drink a sip of water all afternoon. He felt like he was going to smoke. Just took a few bites. Qin Tian's movements froze suddenly. He just remembered. It seems that I have never looked at my title panel. When he opened up the Dungeon of Forgotten Treasure with Hell level difficulty before, he won the unique title, Hell Envoy. And some time ago, he fought so many battles in various ways. It stands to reason that there should be tens of thousands of warships killed. No matter how you can unlock the title of sinking 10,000 warships. As a result, he was busy these 2 days. Forgot all about it. No wonder he always felt like he had forgotten something these 2 days. Think here. Qin Tian immediately opened his attribute panel with a thought. Really? At first glance, he saw 2 inactive titles on it. The first one is naturally the only title, Hell Envoy. The second title is the title, Strongest God of War, for killing more than 10,000 warships. Qin Tian first activated the title of Hell Envoy. Looking at this title wrapped in a raging crimson flame. After admiring it for a moment, Qin Tian looked at the addition behind it. Hell Envoy, unique, attack plus 500, HP plus 3000, defense plus 200. After activation, it can increase 10% extra damage to the boss of the Hell level dungeon. 90%. Chapter 455. They went to the Forgotten Treasure dungeon to find you again. When you see that you only need to activate this title to have an additional 10% damage to Hell level dungeon bosses. Qin Tian nodded and reluctantly accepted the increase. Take the damage of the Genesis-class plasma naval cannon that he created in the afternoon as an example. Tomorrow, he will use the plasma cannon to attack the Hell-level dungeon boss, Xingyu. Can hit more damage between 5400-6800. Barely can be regarded as a pretty good increase. After reading the title of Hell Messenger, he then looked at the title of the Strongest God of War. The Strongest God of War. Attack plus 500, HP plus 2000, defense plus 200. The two titles added 1,000 combined attack, 5,000 health and 400 defense to him. Overall, it's a small improvement. And the next night, in the anticipation of Zula, Dong Zhuang and Chu Hongbao, it passed quickly. It was past 8 in the morning the next day. As usual, it was Qin Tian who used his own plane map to find the restored Xingyu. Has the experience of sinking the opponent twice. This time, they haven't waited for the dungeon boss, Xingyu, to pull them into the dungeon C area. Chu Hongbao had already turned on the power engine for the vertical lift of the Nemesis. Wait until Xingyu pulls them into the dungeon C area. Chu Hongbao directly operated the Nemesis to lift off. And with his operation, sure enough, all the hatred of Xingyu was attracted by Nemesis. All the missiles greeted the Nemesis at once. It's just that this kind of damage that can only hit tens of thousands of blood at a time is completely pediatrics for today's Nemesis, and it's not painful. And in order to repay the other party, after Chu Hongbao raised the battleship into the air, full of excitement, Zula and Dong Zhuang pressed the button to control the Genesis-class plasma gun. Under the intelligent control of fire control radar, automatic scanning and automatic aiming, Genesis-class plasma naval gun locked on to Xingyu in the distance with just a breath of effort. Then the laser device in the gun body starts to extract electric energy for operation, and the laser heats the gas stored inside to convert it into high-temperature plasma, and then converges at the gun muzzle through the transmission channel of the gun barrel. Under the constraints and enhancements of the focuser and the amplifier, a sphere flickering with electric arcs quickly took shape. Immediately after aiming, it was launched in a flash. Boom! Only a deafening roar was heard. Everyone saw Xingyu Chuan, who was accumulating energy and preparing to launch the laser cannon, was blasted off the shield by the 10 rounds of the plasma cannon. Qin Tian was not surprised by this result. The opponent's starship is equipped with plasma shield, which can effectively defend and weaken the damage of plasma naval guns. Wait until the shield is gone. At that time is the time to accept the power of this plasma naval gun. Here Qin Tian still felt a little regretful. But everyone in the live broadcast room was stunned by the damage from the plasma cannon. Nearly 40,000 injuries. This is already an extremely terrifying damage in the armament of a battleship. I just don't know what the rate of fire of this plasma cannon is. Then they just finished thinking about it here. Just 3 seconds later, another plasma cannonball with a blue arc blasted out. This made everyone watching flak stunned for a moment. 1 shot in 3 seconds. 20 shots a minute. More than 30,000 damage in 1 shot. That's it. Qin Tian's newly built plasma cannon alone can deal more than 600,000 or even 700,000 damage in a minute. If this is combined with other naval guns and dozens of unmanned fighter jets that Qin Tian expanded yesterday. Good guy. That's it. Qin Tian's combat power was simply a qualitative leap yesterday. And it is true. While the plasma naval guns continued to bombard, Qin Tian also used must-hit triple shot at the same time. Rui, Union, and Li Yao were also driving mechas and fighter jets, and leading a large group of unmanned fighter jets soaring into the sky. They also started fighting. It would have taken more than 3 hours to fight the battle yesterday. Got it in just over an hour today. This naturally made Qin Tian extremely happy. Asking for flowers. At noon, Yu Dai and the others prepared a lot of sumptuous meals for celebration. Eat and drink enough. Afternoon. Qin Tian was on the deck watching Wei Yu and Li Yao, under the guidance of Rui and Union, control the mecha for simple walking, squatting and running. But suddenly, beep beep, a private chat notification sounded in his mind. Open it and have a look. I saw Zhang Zongjun's portrait flashing non-stop. Xiao Qin, pay attention to the movement around you recently. I just got the news that there are many Eurasian Federation gods who can't survive in the copy of the Sea of Death, all discussing to go to the copy of the Forgotten Treasure together. Obviously they haven't given up yet. See this message from the other party. The corners of Qin Tian's mouth curled up slightly. This did not surprise him at all. I have already prepared in my heart. So he replied directly. Don't worry, General Zhang, I've thought of this a long time ago. According to my previous inspection, it takes about 20 days to get the copy of the Forgotten Treasure from the Sea of Death. I plan to spend more than 10 days, and the time is about the same, then leave here directly. Xiao Qin, don't you think you've already calculated everything? Zhang Zongjun subconsciously replied in a daze. For a while, I didn't know what to say. Even his teammates from the same faction felt like a batch of bamboo shoots when they saw Qin Tian's plan. Not to mention the reaction of finding out that Qin Tian had left after the Eurasian Federation God-chosen group came here. You will definitely be furious and furious. You kid is really amazing. After Zhang Zongjun sent a sentence of emotion, he immediately sent another message. By the way, Xiao Qin, do you have a lot of meat for the leader killer whale king? If you don't need it urgently, can you trade some for me? See this message. Qin Tian replied without the slightest hesitation. I don't need it urgently. I collected 50,000 units of leader killer whale king meat this time. How much do you need, General Zhang? Hiss. When seeing this message from Qin Tian, Zhang Zongjun, who was far away on the god-level treasure island, suddenly took a deep breath. Good guy. The leader of the 50,000 unit king level meat billion. 90%. Chapter 456. The sale of leader killer whale king meat begins. Although he thought that Qin Tian would harvest a lot of king-level meat after collecting the corpse of the killer whale boss. But he never expected that there would be so many. This. How about 3,000 units first, Xiaoqin, let's see how much supplies you need. Zhang Zongjun sent a message with some lack of confidence and said. Recently, he has vigorously built a god-level treasure island. Spending money is like running water. The reason why I want to get 3,000 units of boss meat this time is also to cultivate a group of advanced and powerful gods chosen who can strengthen themselves. Because this can better build the god-level treasure island home. At the same time, it can also enter the mountains and rivers to resist those fierce birds and beasts. Go back and catch some wild pigs, cattle, chickens and sheep to raise. And Qin Tian saw that Zhang Zongjun, who used to be generous in the past, actually showed such lack of confidence in the transaction this time. This surprised Qin Tian very much. But after a little thought in his mind, he thought of the general idea. The other party has probably arrived at the god-level treasure island with the fleet. It should be vigorously developed and constructed these days. And the reason for lack of confidence may be that the strength shown by the world boss this time is too strong. The other party worried that he would sell it at the unit price of king-level meat that was on the shelf during the last locust plague. After all, that time with the help of bloodthirsty rain locust s east wind. As long as there is a bit of king-level meat in hand at that time. Which one is on the shelf is not a list of materials with a unit price of 10,000 to 20,000 or 20,000 to 30,000. Just a few days of work. Gods chosen with king-level meat in their hands all made a lot of money. The level of the battleship was directly upgraded like a rocket. Figured this out. Qin Tian sent a message to Zhang Zongjun. Then let's do this, General Zhang, we won't take the previous price. When Zhang Zongjun saw this message, he felt a thump in his heart. I'm afraid that Qin Tian will give him a unit price of more than 20,000 low-quality metals for each unit of king-level meat. After thinking about it, he asked tentatively. Xiao Qin, did you use 10,000 units of wood and 10,000 units of plastic? Come down at this price. 3,000 units of king-level meat will require almost 30 million units of supplies. This is for him now. Still barely within the tolerance range. If it is based on the material price of 20,000 to 30,000. That's really not something he can bear now. But all the same. He also knew how high the quality of the leader killer whale king meat Qin Tian collected this time. It really needs to be put on the trading market. Even auctions at auctions. This wave of king-level meat can easily be sold for 20,000 to 30,000 units. The unit price of the supplies is not a problem. After Qin Tian saw this message from Zhang Zongjun. In my heart, I also somewhat estimated the bottom line of the material that the other party has in hand. In the original transaction of tens of millions of supplies, the other party opened his mouth without even blinking an eye. Don't want to be bold. Now, if you want to take out these 30 million supplies, you have to grit your teeth to be willing to take them out. I really don't know how much resources the other party has invested in that god-level treasure island. Certainly, Qin Tian didn't even think about cheating the other party. Now he has enough supplies in his hands. Moreover, collecting the corpses of world bosses is no longer dangerous for him, it is even as simple as eating and drinking at a glance. Calling it free is not an exaggeration. This kind of no-cost transaction is nothing even if the other party is given a discount. After all, it has always been. The other party did not help him less. Think here. He sent the message directly. General Zhang, you don't need that much. Wood and plastic can be purchased at 5,000 units, and metal sheets can be purchased at 2,000 units if you have enough. See this message from Qin Tian. Zhang Zongjun felt relieved in his heart. It is clear, Qin Tian has already seen his current situation. You should have guessed that he is vigorously building a god-level treasure island. That's why he was given such a low price to trade the king-level meat of the world boss. I really didn't see the wrong person. Even now the opponent's strength has grown to a level that even he can't imagine. But for Zhang Zongjun, for Yanlong Empire, Qin Tian is still willing to lend a helping hand to help. That alone is enough. Immediately, he is not hypocritical. Replied directly, okay, then thank you kid, my money is indeed a little tight now. Qin Tian smiled. Then he walked quickly to the kitchen. Say hello to Yu Hai. He looked at the leader killer whale king meat piled up randomly on several cabinets. Immediately, he opened the trading panel with Zhang Zongjun, and directly selected 3,000 units of leader killer whale king meat and put them on. Have to say, collecting the body of the dark killer whale king before was really too rewarding. These 50,000 units of leader killer whale king meat. Even if more than 3,000 of them got rid of the food recently, they only managed to eat more than 1,000 units of meat. So he thought about waiting a few days for an auction. Sell these leader killer whale king meat for 30,000 units. Not for a while. Zhang Zongjun put 15 million units of low-quality plastic, 10 million units of low-quality wood, and 1 million units of low-quality metal sheet. Both parties chose to confirm. After the transaction is completed, Qin Tian sent a message out of curiosity. General Zhang, how much investment and construction have you invested in the god-level treasure island? Don't try too hard. Zhang Zongjun replied quickly. Not much, just got some anti-aircraft guns, anti-aircraft missiles and anti-ship missiles, probably only a few thousand. After finishing these, we can start to store supplies again. How many thousands? Qin Tian saw this amount. The eyes almost popped out. Quite a few guys. It is estimated that only this super powerful force with hundreds of thousands of gods chosen at every turn can have this kind of generosity. 5.8 directly build thousands of various defensive coastal artillery. No wonder the overhead is so high. I admire it. The god chosen who fights alone cannot be envied. The two then chatted a few more words, and then ended the communication. Zhang Zongjun contacted Qin Tian in the afternoon and traded 3,000 units of leader killer whale king meat. After dinner in the evening after 7 o'clock, Qin Tian's private chat prompt sounded again. Open it and have a look. This time it turned out to be the message from Berg of the Moore family. Mr. Qin, hello, sorry to disturb you so late. Qin Tian thought that the other party was looking for him to let him choose this week's blueprint. Immediately also replied, it's okay, I just finished dinner and I'm taking a walk on the deck right now. 90%. Chapter 457 Mr. Qin, I want 6,000 units. See Qin Tian's message. Berg sent a message enviously. I really envy Mr. Qin. The living supplies are abundant, and in this perilous world of warships, it doesn't look like survival at all, but more like a vacation, unlike us, living day by day, and worrying every day. No way, I, a lonely family, can't compare to your Moore family's family and business. After chatting lightly with the other party for a few words, the other party began to chat about business. I saw that Berg sent him 3 epic drawings for him to choose from. Epic vegetable greenhouse blueprint, epic double-door refrigerator drawings, and an epic universal autoloader. Qin Tian thought of the big piles of leader Orca King meat piled up on the outside cabinets in the kitchen. Without further ado, he directly chose the epic level double-door refrigerator drawing. This is the extremely hot climate that has not encountered insect plagues and super hot weather recently. If you encounter bloodthirsty rain locust like last time, then his 21 leader killer whale king meat that has no place to put them all have to be ruined. So compared to the epic vegetable greenhouse drawing that can continue to grow grapes and watermelons, Qin Tian still chose the refrigerator first. Anyway, it is definitely impossible to return to the god-level treasure island for operation and construction within this month. His wife and daughter's plan to come in this month also fell through. In this case, he doesn't have to worry. It's not too late to wait until next week to get the epic vegetable greenhouse blueprint from the other party and open the second watermelon. Selected epic double-door refrigerator blueprint. Qin Tian thought that the next moment the other party would directly initiate a deal with him as usual. But who would have thought that the other party would send him another message right after? Well, Mr. Qin, I wonder if there is still the meat of the whale world boss you collected last time. See the message sent by the other party. Qin Tian was a little surprised. Why is there a question about leader killer whale king meat? Does the opponent also need to use king level meat to strengthen a group of god chosen to build a god level treasure island? Then Qin Tian's expression froze suddenly. It does seem like it might be the case. After all, the Moore family did occupy a god-level treasure island. Since there is business coming, it is naturally impossible for Qin Tian to refuse the door. And the Moore family is not Zhang Zongjun, they need to take care of themselves. You can sell it at the market price. You must know where the strength of the world boss Dark Killer Whale King lies. Anyone can guess how good the strengthening effect of its flesh and blood is. Think about it this way. Qin Tian immediately replied to the other party. Yes, I originally planned to take out 30,000 units of leader killer whale king meat for auction in a few days. In the afternoon, General Zhang Zongjun of the Yanlong Imperial Navy bought 3,000 units from me. I don't know, Mr. Berg, how much do you plan to buy? I saw the information that Qin Tian said he planned to auction. Berg's heart was suddenly startled. Then think about it. He gritted his teeth and replied directly. Mr. Qin, I plan to buy 6,000 units. I wonder if you can give me a cheaper price. This time, the strength of the world boss Dark Killer Whale King is obvious to all. According to previous experience, the stronger the boss is, the better the enhancement effect of king level meat collected after death. Once Qin Tian really auctions the king level meat of the Dark Killer Whale King, 9 out of 10 of these king level meats will be fired up to sky high prices by some ignorant gods chosen. Because for most of the chosen ones, the king level meat they buy is actually what they eat to strengthen their bodies. Even if there are some well-developed ones, the most is to buy a few more yuan to strengthen the body of the crew that you value. So for them, even if the price of the world boss's king level meat is raised to 57,000 by them, they are also perfectly acceptable. At most, it will cost more than 100,000 to 200,000 in materials. For them who are now full of material barrels, it's totally affordable. Those who are retail investors can afford it. But for those big forces who have big businesses and big businesses, they buy wholesale. That would be really unfriendly. So while the meat price of leader killer whale king meat hasn't gone up yet, hurry up and stock up on your own family. At that time, even if the family can't use it, he can also resell it at a high price. Anyway, it's all right. Think here. Berger was determined. The next step is to see how many discounts you can get from Qin Tian. And saw that the Moore family actually planned to eat 6,000 units of leader killer whale king meat alone. Qin Tian was also a little surprised. The other party's appetite is simply amazing. Think about it. He texted Berger. Mr. Berg, you must have seen how powerful the world boss Diablo Killer Whale King is. I can tell you this, even my body, which has been strengthened nearly 10 times, is eating this dark killer whale. The body of the king-level meat queen of the killer whale king has also been strengthened extremely violently. Qin Tian didn't say the price. Instead, 167 first exaggerated the enhancement effect of the leader killer whale king meat. After he ate the leader killer whale king meat, the strengthening effect was naturally not as drastic as he said. But it did raise his physical fitness a little bit. And look at the entire sea area of World of Warships. At present, how many people can eat 3 meals a day as luxuriously as him, wishing to eat the king-level meat of the world boss to satisfy their hunger? So for those who have only strengthened their bodies 4 or 5 times, or even 3 or 4 times, this time leader killer whale king meat is just a bite. I'm afraid it will also allow their bodies to undergo a strong evolution. Berg saw Qin Tian's message. While approving in my heart, I was also secretly surprised. Although the latter did not specify the specific number of strengthening. But the last 10 times are obviously 8 or 9 times. You must know that even he is a high-ranking member of a wealthy family like him. The body has only been strengthened 4 times. And the other party can strengthen his body to double his level by fighting alone. This shows how obvious the gap between the two parties is. But despite Qin Tian's remarks, but this does not hinder his determination to bargain with Qin Tian. So he pondered for a while. A message was sent directly to Qin Tian. 91%. Chapter 458 Leave, Target Sea of Death. Mr. Qin, of course I know what you said, but if the price is still at 20,000 or 30,000 at that time, it will be a bit difficult for our whole family to buy it, and it may affect the family succession. Turnover down. Berg sent a message to Qin Tian with a bitter tone. See each other's information. Qin Tian calculated secretly. According to Bloodthirsty Rain Locust Raging Period. The unit price of a unit of king meat is 25,000 units of low-quality metal or 30,000 units of low-quality wood and low-quality plastic. The Moore family would have to consume between 150 million and 180 million units of supplies to purchase 6,000 units of king-grade meat. Although this price really moved Qin Tian's heart. But he knew that it would definitely not work with the Moore family. At least not now. The reason why king-level meat was sold so expensive during the polar night last time. It is entirely because of the external reason of Bloodthirsty Rain Locust. It's a bit unreasonable to sell it so expensive now. What's more, the two of them are still in an alliance. It really can't be that bad. Think here. Qin Tian immediately sent a message to the other party. Don't worry, Mr. Berg, the Moore family is in alliance with me. For friends, I naturally want a discount. In this way, when I sold the leader King Rebia, the price was more than 10,000 units of supplies, and later I sold the leader King Dinosaur. Because of the external cause of Bloodthirsty Rain Locusts, the meat was sold at a premium of more than 20,000 or even 30,000. And now the enhancement effect of the King Killer Whale meat of this leader may be 3 to 5 times better than that of the King Crocodile meat, so the price must not be much discounted, because we are allies and friends, so let's do it. I'll give you the unit price of 18,000 for wood and plastic, and 15,000 for metal sheet, is that all right? See the price quoted by Qin Tian. Berger was overjoyed. This is much better than the 20,000 he estimated. But he still tried his best to send less messages. Thank you very much, Mr. Qin, for your understanding. This amount is indeed very conscientious, but can it be cheaper? 15,000 units of wood and plastic, 13,000 units of metal sheets are okay. Seeing that the other party actually bargained with himself. The corners of Qin Tian's mouth curled up slightly. Then he replied, "Oh, Mr. Berg, this is really not good. It is okay to buy king-grade meat of Dinosaur King at this price, but it is really too low to buy king-level killer whale meat." Seeing Qin Tian not letting go, Berg gritted his teeth and sent a message. "Well, Mr. Qin, how about I add 500 top-quality sea beast teeth? Add 500 top-quality sea beast teeth, Mr. Qin, you can give me the price just now." They are now vigorously building a god-level treasure island, and the demand for materials is also very urgent. Don't look at the fact that he bargained for 3,000 or 2,000 units of supplies per unit of king meat. However, the total transaction price of 6,000 units of king-level meat was calculated. He can directly save more than 30 million materials. This strength is already very astonishing. As for the top-grade sea beast teeth, although this thing is also very rare and valuable. But recently, the battleship armament blueprints produced by their family fleet are all ordinary green blueprints and advanced blue blueprints, and there are very few epic and legendary ranks. Not to mention the mythical blueprints that can only be created with top-grade sea beast teeth. As for the Genesis level, their Moore family has been in this world of warships from its creation to the present. Have not encountered once. It can be said that this is the eternal pain of their Moore family. And now the Moore family. Although there are not many top-grade sea beast teeth in his hand. But there are still about 2,000 pieces. And let it go. It's better to use it to play a role at the critical moment when the family is building a god-level treasure island. Save a lot of supplies for their family. But Qin Tian saw that the other party was willing to use top-quality sea beast teeth to offset the supplies. It was also a very pleasant surprise in my heart for a while. Immediately with a wave of his hand, he sent a message very boldly. 500 top-quality sea beast teeth are too few, at least 700. Berg, who thought that Qin Tian would readily agree, never expected that Qin Tian would actually give him a trick to fight back against him. For a moment, the corners of the mouth twitched and began to bargain. 600 can't be more. The two grind each other for a long time. Seeing that the other party is alive or dead, he is unwilling to let go. Qin Tian had no choice but to agree to the price. Soon the two parties completed the transaction. Qin Tian paid 6,000 units of leader killer whale king meat. And Berg is based on the negotiated price. Delivered 30 million units of low-quality wood, 30 million units of low-quality plastic, 26 million units of low-quality metal sheets, and 600 top-quality sea beast teeth. So far, Qin Tian's low-quality wood, low-quality metal sheets, and low-quality plastics all exceeded 9 figures. Maybe not as good as the stocks of those superpowers. But against those ordinary small and medium-sized forces, they are definitely no worse than them. Even more than a lot. And the next 10 days, Qin Tian hangs and beats the dungeon boss, Xingyu, in this hell level difficulty, Forgotten Treasure, dungeon every day. He secretly counted the time. On the night of the 14th day, after the live broadcast was closed, Qin Tian came to the control room. Let Zula and Dong Zhuang connect the communications of the remaining 10 warships. Get them ready to leave, and then follow the nemesis. Quote. Hong Bao, call up the coordinates of the instance of Sea of Death, let's go. After the communication is over, Qin Tian issued navigation instructions to Chu Hongbao. Yes, Captain. Chu Hong, leave Wang Zhao, nodded his head. Immediately after a siren sounded. Then start the engine power, and start to turn around and go in the direction of Sea of Death. These 10 days, Qin Tian obtained a total of more than 1,200 epic quality warship blueprints in this hell level Forgotten Treasure dungeon. Overall, the harvest is still considerable. It exceeded his expectations. The next step is to go to the Sea of Death dungeon to get some battleship armaments. Wait until he returns to the God-level treasure island in the future. After forming the fleet, then equip these warships with better quality. The overall strength of the fleet can be directly increased several times. That's all. Without everyone knowing, Qin Tian led Qin Shui's fleet to leave the instance of Forgotten Treasure that had been brushed for more than 10 days. Sailing towards the copy of Sea of Death. 91%. Chapter 459. The copy of the Sea of Death rioted. And in order not to have a face-to-face collision with those gods chosen who rushed over from the Sea of Death dungeon, Qin Tian also specially asked Chu Hongbao to avoid walking in a straight line. Detour towards the copy of Sea of Death in an arc. These days Qin Tian asked Zhang Zongjun to inquire for him. It was found that there were not many people waiting for him in the Sea of Death dungeon. Heard about it a week ago. Sea of Death, the corruptor fleet in the dungeon, led by Dick, launched a siege against the Chosen One inside. More than 20,000 gods chosen died in 3 days. Among them, the fleets of the Great Cold Empire, the Asan Empire, and the Rose Empire suffered the most losses. Almost the whole army was wiped out. Even the tens of thousands of fleets of the Lighthouse Empire and the empire on which the sun never sets were sunk by a third. Fighting and retreating, he escaped from inside. There is no longer a God's Chosen in the current Sea of Death dungeon. That's why Qin Tian chose to set off at this time. When he arrived there after sailing for more than 20 days. Exactly 1 month after the riot in the dungeon, 277. The riots inside must have subsided by then. In addition, those guys without the Eurasian Federation made trouble. He happened to be able to search the treasure house of the Chengxing Empire in peace of mind. Qin Tian pondered over and over in his heart. Plan your next move. After making sure there is no big problem. Only then did he greet the 3 of Zula. Back to the cabin to sleep. The next day, when the live broadcast room is turned on, all the viewers who poured into the live broadcast room discovered that Qin Tian's warship had left the instance of Forgotten Treasure. At this time, it is sailing quickly on the sea. See this scene. All the viewers in the live broadcast room were dumbfounded. Especially some radicals in the Eurasian Federation. He was so angry that he almost died on the spot. Oh, Xie Te, why did Qin Tian suddenly leave the Forgotten Treasure dungeon without saying a word? Damn it. The advance fleet of our Lighthouse Empire is still rushing to the Forgotten Treasure dungeon. Seeing that the voyage is less than a day away, Qin Tian actually ran away. Ha ha ha, I laughed so hard, aren't you dumbfounded? I, God Qin, probably guessed the situation long ago, so I took the time to leave, so you guys can just eat ass there. I have to say that Qin Shen's irritating operation is still so proficient. I can already imagine that when the tens of thousands of gods chosen who came from the Eurasian Federation came all the way to pounce, the faces on their faces, what a wonderful expression it will be. There was a lot of cursing and sneering in the live broadcast room. And just like some of the chosen ones of the Yanlong Empire said. When the chosen ones of the vanguard of the Eurasian Federation came here in the afternoon. When it was discovered that Qin Tian was really empty. They immediately went into a rage. Especially after these chosen ones controlled the battleship and turned around the entire dungeon for 2 or 3 times without activating the hell level difficulty of the Forgotten Treasure dungeon. They are even more painful from the heart, liver, spleen, lungs and kidneys of being angry. What does this copy mean? Who do you look down on? Why Qin Tian can activate the hell level difficulty of the dungeon when he comes? And they can't. And that Qin Tian from Yanlong Empire. Fuck, he's such a chicken thief. At first, they couldn't believe it when they received the message from their family's gods. With a fluke mentality, it is possible that Qin Tian is just salvaging wooden barrels for supplies nearby. But now, after going around for several times, there is no one in sight. This convinced them that Qin Tian really ran away in the middle of the night last night. Just let them be angry and unwilling. Also all to no avail, CBDD. He could only blaspheme Qin Tian in the World Chat channel, calling him a coward and a coward. The bored Qin Tian just glanced at the World Chat channel and then calmly closed the chat channel. A group of jumping clowns, let them jump up and down first. He thought that the opponent's advance force might have 50,000 to 60,000 people. But I didn't expect that there were only more than 20,000 people. I knew there was only such a small number of fleets. Ravage them severely before leaving. It's just that it's impossible for him now to turn around and fight those people because of such an innocuous matter. At this moment, his battleship blueprint already exists. The rest is the armament of those warships. As long as the battleship is armed. Go to the treasury and get those crystal ores. He can immediately go back to the god-level treasure island he chose for operation and construction. Good to welcome the arrival of the Zarare civilization. Time flies, like a white horse passing by. 21 days of sailing. Qin Tian's Qin Shui fleet finally arrived near the instance of Sea of Death at around 10 o'clock that night. These 20 days, Qin Tian selected 7 crew members with A-level piloting and operation talents from the thousands of crew members to learn from Zula and Dong Zhuang how to operate the Nemesis. Then Qin Tian divided 10 of them into 2 classes. Work one day at a time. Because Qin Tian didn't know what kind of things he would encounter in the copy of Sea of Death. In all known instances of World of Warships, if it is said which dungeon Qin Tian is most afraid of and has no idea, that is undoubtedly the copy of Sea of Death. Whether it's the evil rules in it that killing the chosen can turn the chosen into a corrupter ship. Still can be demagogic. Contaminate it directly into the terror of the fallen like it did with Dick. It made Qin Tian feel an uncontrollable sense of the unknown about this dungeon. This is the will of the planet to seal this place of death into a copy. Otherwise he is perfectly conceivable. If the evil power inside escapes, what terrible pollution will be done to World of Warships? And this time they are looking for the treasure house of the Chengxing Empire. The fleet is very likely to go deep into the innermost range of the instance. This forced Qin Tian to make complete preparations. At the very least, the staff in the control room must be able to ensure that in a critical moment, they can maintain a peak state for 24 hours to conduct continuous and uninterrupted control of the battleship. At least not too big of a mistake. Captain, we are here, do you want to go in now? At this time, looking at the fluorescent green giant ball with a diameter of hundreds of kilometers from a distance, Chu Hongbao asked Qin Tian suddenly. 91%. Chapter 460. If it threatens our Eurasian Federation, it must be cleared. This is not the first time they have come to this Sea of Death dungeon. It's just that Yao Lang, Wei Chen, and Ma Fei were manipulating the battleship when they came. They can only watch from the deck. But now it's them who control the warships to fight. Captain, the radar shows that there are warships hovering at some entrances of the dungeon, and there are probably thousands of them. At this time, Zula also reminded me aloud. It doesn't matter. Find an entrance with few people. Let's be vigilant and go in directly. I'll call Mr. Su. Qin Tian waved his hand indifferently. Then he stood up from the bridge chair and walked out of the control room. Since he dared to come, he was naturally fully prepared to deal with various emergencies. With his current blood volume and defense, even if it resists the concentrated fire damage of 20,000 to 30,000 warships, it is not afraid. There are tens of hundreds of entrances and exits in this Sea of Death dungeon. At that time, even if the fleets of the Eurasian Federation can gather tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of fleets, they will run back and block him outside the instance. That also has to be taken into account for every import and export. Such an average down, they can only deploy a fleet of 1 or 2,000 at one entrance. This is completely without any threat to Qin Tian. So he wasn't worried at all. Walking out of the control room, he looked down. Just in time to see Wei Yu coming out from the side door under the ship island. "Ahu!" Qin Tian shouted immediately. Wei Yu raised his head upon hearing this. It was Qin Tian who was calling after him. He hurriedly asked, "Captain, what's the matter?" Qin Tian smiled and said, "Go and invite Mr. Su over here." "Okay, Captain." Wei Yu nodded when he heard the words. Then he turned his head and returned to the cabin again. The corners of Qin Tian's mouth turned upward. Then he didn't go back to the control room. Just stand on the stairs. He was fascinated by the huge dome glowing with green light in the distance. And Qin Tian led the arrival of his own fleet. It was quickly scanned by the radars of other gods chosen in the nearby sea area. When they used the scanning imaging function to see Qin Tian's iconic double-deck nemesis, everyone's eyes almost popped out of shock. I have a go. Why did this killer come here all of a sudden? Didn't he hear about the frightening riot in the instance of Sea of Death? While thinking, someone took a screenshot of the picture on his central control display. It was sent directly to the World Chat channel. Oh my god, you guys will never believe what I saw. It's Qin Tian, the Qin Tian from the Yanlong Empire who came to the Sea of Death dungeon. Oh, Xie Te. I also scanned his double-deck battleship nemesis here. God bless, I hope the other party will not kill us. What? Qin Tian went to the dungeon of the Sea of Death. Damn it, we are playing Battleship Blueprints in the dungeon of Forgotten Treasure. Why did he go to the dungeon of the Sea of Death again? I thought he would show it and ask himself, where did you go to the god-level treasure island? Forget it, just in case, I'd better leave the Sea of Death temporarily. The arrival of this guy will 100% trigger another large-scale naval battle. Cut, can you show some face upstairs? It's as if all the battles were caused by me, God Qin. Tell me, how many of these battles were not caused by your Eurasian Federation's initiative to send troops? Obviously they were. You are greedy yourself, and you still insist on making it so high-sounding. You are both a whore and an archway. Zaiba, the Yanlong people upstairs, don't talk nonsense. We are maintaining justice and peace in the world of warships. If Qin Tian's actions did not seriously threaten the security of our Eurasian Federation at that time, we would not keep attacking him. I go. When he saw that the chosen person of the Great Cold Empire actually said such shameless words. The people of Yanlong Empire are all unwilling. This is how these guys define the target of the attack. In World of Warships, as long as it is the chosen one who threatens their absolute ruler status in the Eurasian Federation, that will be set as a target that they must attack until the threat is eliminated. Such an unreasonable behavior style was spoken out so blatantly by them. It simply made all the chosen ones who are not in the Eurasian Federation look angry. Ask for flowers. Qin Tian didn't pay attention to the chat channel at first. But as the notification of private chat information sounded, Nangong Le sent a message asking him to watch the World Chat channel. When Qin Tian finished watching, the whole face also instantly turned cold. Boss, these people from the Eurasian Federation are really too arrogant. With their behavior, how can the chosen ones of our Blue Star civilization in World of Warships join hands to fight against those alien civilizations? Nangong Le sent him a message complaining. Qin Tian thought about it. Send a message to Nangong Le. Nangong, so, if you recently opened the treasure chest and got the island steel transfer scroll, then traded directly to General Zhang and ask him to bind the god-level treasure island with the island steel transfer scroll. 1. 0. Big brother, is it a bit loud when you say this? We are talking about the Eurasian Federation. Why did you suddenly jump to the transfer scroll of the island monument? Nangong Le replied with a confused face. What I mean is that when the Zerere civilization invades in the future, we will join together urgently. At that time, we will only be responsible for protecting the safety of ourselves and our allies. Don't the Eurasian Alliance think they are awesome? Then let them face the attack of Zerere civilization alone. I want to see how long they can last. Qin Tian sent a message to the other party and said with the corner of his mouth slightly raised. And saw this message from Qin Tian. Nangong Li's eyes lit up immediately. This method is 6. Since the Eurasian Federation is so proud and arrogant, don't take gods chosen from other forces into consideration at all. As a target that can be bullied and suppressed at will. Then wait until the army of Zerere civilization arrives. Let them defend themselves against the invasion of Zerere civilization. Moreover, according to the Eurasian Federation's chosen ones, they have never wanted to contact them to discuss cooperation and alliances. Apparently, those high-ranking officials of the Western Empire didn't take the invasion of Zerere civilization at all. Maybe it seems to them, the Zerere civilization may be much more powerful than the aliens who invaded the Blue Star in this world. But they who own the battleship of God's Chosen obviously believe more in the warships upgraded by their God's Chosen. Or in the warships upgraded by their God's Chosen. Or in the warships